gonna give a disclaimer here. I might lose some of you as subscribers, viewers, whatever, talking about energy here. No, I'm not asking you to have the same belief system as me. I'm just like, want to start with this. We are walking batteries, in my opinion. Of course, I believe we have souls, but NASA has the ability to see our energy fields with special cameras. We definitely are made of energy as far as our physical beings. And that is something that is highly discredited. They say there's a bunch of like empty space in each cell. It's not empty space, it is energy. And we use certain metals, certain crystals, minerals in electronics because they are conductive, they help electronics work. There is absolutely energy in certain things. I don't believe in using those particular elements in spells or rituals or like making grids out of crystals, any of that kind of stuff. Personally, I don't. I'm just explaining myself when I talk about energy. I think that it's indisputable that we are made of energy. So when I'm talking about energy, that's not to say I don't believe in souls and a higher being and a God, but this earth even has its own heartbeat and is made of energy. It is alive. That is known as a Schumann resonance for some people. And this is going to be a long live. There are going to be adult topics covered in this. And I'm starting off talking about where I'm coming from as far as what the topic was. And then we'll get into Aaron, but that's the least important part of this live. I just want to let people know who are walking along this path with me, like where I'm coming from when I bring up misogyny, because clearly we can all agree there's some kind of imbalance taking place between the two genders. And of course, in a way, there always has been. However, there is definitely more of this cultural divide and shift taking place, and that is apparent in many statistics. You don't even have to just look it and live it. You can see it through the eyes of science. There is Okay, what I really want to start with is we all have feminine and masculine energies. You tend to be what your gender is. Like when you're a man, you tend to have more masculine energy. When you're a female, you tend to have more feminine energy. However, there's always exceptions, right? And we all know the exceptions I'm talking about. And in my opinion, that's perfectly fine. And I don't think that God made any mistakes. And I think that we should be allowed to live and let live. However, I am saddened for the people who go through serious medical procedures and the like in an effort to change genders. I think we should accept everybody as they come and just understand that some people aren't going to align with their core gender as much as others. We need diversity. There's diversity in every ecosystem. The less diversity you have, the worse things get. So I definitely believe in diversity. However, I think a lot of things taking place now are skewing a lot of those things and very much environmental as well as societal. Our environments, we are products of our environment to a large degree. And this is what we need to pay attention to when trying to figure out what exactly is going on. And in my opinion, to sum it up very quickly, there is an imbalance of feminine and masculine energy. It has taken place all over the world in most societies and cultures. And it is right now very strong masculine minded. And it is going to be the end of a cycle. When it renews, it starts off feminine minded. The ideal is when it's balanced, when it's in between, perfectly in between, feminine and masculine working together. And only time I see that in my life personally is in the nuclear family. And I very much believe that the nuclear family is where we need to do a lot of healing as a society. That does not mean that everybody needs to have a nuclear family as an adult, but that means the more of us that do have healthy nuclear family units, keep our families intact, and focus on our families, the better off our whole society will be. And less of us that do that, the worse off we're going to be. So it's all about working together, how masculine and feminine are synergistic energies meant to work together and balance each other out. Hey, Shot to the T, how are you doing today? And what is coming of this imbalance is misogyny. As I've always stated, it comes from men, it comes from women. A lot of people will define misogyny as like the hatred of men towards women, like women can't be misogynistic. I beg to differ. Women can absolutely be misogynistic. And it is because of the same socialization that occurs with the men that makes the women misogynistic as well. So, and it's not like anybody's fault in particular, unless you're like, decades and decades old and refusing to see it, especially when there's statistics put in your face, like the number one cause of a pregnant woman becoming unalived is the person that got her pregnant. Like, if that isn't enough, like, men in the chat, does that bother you that the number one cause of a female in America becoming unalive during her pregnancy is the man that got her pregnant? Isn't that bothersome to you? And that doesn't mean you're part of the problem. No, not at all. It's just like it's bothersome as a female to hear that. And you just like, we need as a society to address this. We need to have more men who want to go around and be leaders, who want to follow other leaders and document them, like actually have more important discussions about things that matter and things that can actually help heal as well as progress. And as I mentioned before, I'm a registered individual at the age of 18. I've always been a centrist, lean towards the right, lean towards conservatism. However, now I almost feel like, just burn it all down. I think we're definitely at the end of a cycle. I know I've mentioned the Federal Reserve in one of my videos before. I know I have. But anyways, I used to think all feminism was bad. I could unprivate videos from this channel early on, like 7 years ago, where it's like, oh, women are so mean to men. And I wanted to be some kind of like MRA, men's rights activist in a certain way. And I made these videos about being submissive and how, like, I did say submission goes both ways, just like Titus's dad said. But, I made like a pretty picture of me in the thumbnail and was like, oh, you have to find a man worth submitting to. And then I got some comments. It was just like the comments I got from men made me feel creepy. And I don't want to be like enticing an abuser to like, I wanted to reach women more than men and I wasn't. And it is something that you keep precious to yourself when you do have a somewhat successful marriage, because we all go through our ups and downs. But you don't really see that many people out there being like, I've been married for 15 years. I've been married for 15 years. I really have. Me as a person, Lydia, sitting right here in front of you. But I feel like as much experience as I have, I'm not going to go and give anybody the guide to a successful marriage, because it really isn't, there's no guide to it. You have to be willing to work, and it's a lot of work. And anyways, I want to define what is masculine and what is feminine, because this will be helpful. And once again, this is my opinion. You don't have to think exactly like me. I just want people to think. I don't think everybody needs to think exactly like me. I'm not like Titus. I don't think like this is the only way to think. I think this is an interesting observation that makes a lot of sense to me. I'm very into Jungian psychology, Carl Jung. I have some books that I would like to do videos on, he and she. I've never read We, but there's a third one called We. I need to before I do videos on it. Hi, Brown. How are you doing? I don't know when you made a comment. Hi, Aliana. How are you doing today? I hope everybody is well. So masculine energy gives direction, discipline, structure, protection. It is giving and providing, while feminine is receiving and receptive. Feminine is also love, connection, compassion, empathy, pleasure, and sensuality. And like I said, we all have both, right? But it's usually you identify strongly with what your gender is. And that's why there are these stereotypes. That's why there are these gender roles. But we just have to conform to them. And lack of expression is depression. And we need to just allow each other to be who we want to be. And a lot of what is going on right now is this crazy imbalance of masculine and feminine. And the wounded masculine is what a lot of people would say, is toxic masculinity. I believe I made a video back in the day, like, there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There absolutely is. There's like, just toxicity in every way. But toxic masculinity is when you don't have a greater purpose as a man. Your direction, your leadership, all these qualities, you're just doing it for yourself. It's pure selfishness. You don't have a greater good that you are working towards. And the feminine, that would be what would be considered like toxic femininity, is when you're giving away yourself too much. You're too much of a people pleaser. You have low self-esteem. So therefore, you are spreading yourself around a little too in every way you can think that a woman could spread herself around. And this is harmful to everybody, all of society, when it's basically wounded feminine energy, what I just described, and the toxic masculinity is wounded masculinity. Part of the wounded masculinity comes from the way men are socialized to think that the worst thing they could ever do to be a woman, to dress like a woman, is to have a prank. If a woman dresses like a man, she's cool, she's into fashion if she wears a suit. a man dressing like a woman is horrible. Not that I would want my man dressing like a woman, to be honest, but when you think like you throw like a girl, it's every man's worst nightmare to be called a girl, a woman. It is an insult, and they're of the socialization that they can't help. They're young boys, and even if you don't socialize your kids like that, I thought I kept my kids from a lot as a home educator, and I was surprised when I still heard them say things like that. Like they pick it up from all of society. It's and I do believe it's so slowly seeping into our society. And there's countries now where women aren't allowed to go to school. They're not allowed to drive. They aren't allowed to show anything but like their eyes. Maybe they can show their faces. But like in the 70s, they were allowed to wear pants. They were wearing, swimsuits and bikinis at the beach. It's a slippery slope. I used to think that that was silly, the slippery slope fallacy. No, it's not a fallacy. Like there are definitely slippery slopes. I've seen a lot in my 38 years of life. And like it's time for us to what is obvious. Kamalachit. Hi, how are you doing? I'm sorry for not pronouncing your name correctly, I'm sure. So let me see. The current cycle I feel like we're at is caused by balance because we are mostly masculine. And most women aren't meant to be mostly masculine. Some are, and that's okay. But most of us aren't. And the way men are pushed to it and the way men are punished for acknowledging any other femininity, often, not always, but often, is part of the misogyny, the hatred of women. And I've already mentioned, I think that the nuclear family is one way that we can heal from all of this. And I hesitate to make a lot of content about how I feel about marriage and because I don't want to, I always feel guilty. I don't know what better word to say because I don't want to come off as like I'm righteous. I think I'm better than anybody else. I think me and my husband are better than anybody else because we have a successful marriage. But I am very proud of the fact that I've been a wife for 15 years. Because of what we have built together as a family, we have achieved a lot of goals together. We've been to a lot of cool places. And there's no better feeling a goal with your partner in life and achieving that, trying to achieve that. I think that's what we put here to toil in the sun and to set goals and live lives in harmony with other people in partnership, whether that's romantic or not. But a lot of us have the goal of marriage, right? So it's really funny to me when somebody attacks me. Like am not, I've been married for 15 years. We have 3 sons together. We have all of our children together, no children outside of the marriage for either of us. And I very much care about men and the direction that things are going. And that's why I talk about this because it's concerning. And men and women need on board to figure it out and to turn the ship around. And if it's going to be mocked by somebody who's been on this planet for half a century, that's only making my point even more. And I'll get into like the specific things that Aaron said that totally prove how misogynistic he is and how right I am. But the woman, I'm always right. Marriage and nuclear family will heal all. And there's actually a saying in psychology that marriage is healing from childhood trauma because we all have it. Most of us, at least 9 out of 10 people, at least have trauma from their childhood. And healing from that, becoming a better, more whole person. Like ideally, you're not fighting and taking out your childhood trauma on your spouse. You fight less, you come together more and more, and you form a more cohesive partnership year after year. But let me see. The oldest human prejudice, I should have said this when I was talking about misogyny, is misogyny. Literally, Plato said men should stick to intellect, women with sexuality. This was one of the brightest minds. I have a book of Plato on my bookshelf over there. Like, women should stick with sexuality. Like, that's all we're good for. Back in the days of like, that's why I've mentioned before, it seems like Christianity was actually like good for women at the time, at least in some societies. And I look at it like how it was helpful for women, but I still think that maybe possibly some parts are missing, that it was actually could have contained some female disciples or any liar said, hey, any advice for me? I cheated on my girlfriend, but she doesn't know. I feel like I'm a better match with the person I cheated with. My current girlfriend is too clingy. Well, you need to break up with her because yeah, you need to just break up with her. But cheating isn't a good foundation for a relationship either. So good luck with that. If I was you, I would just try harder. Like, even if you're going to call up your girlfriend on the phone and say, hey, I'm breaking up with you now, that's better than like actually cheating on her because, this predicament now. But anyways, we are talking about okay, so feminism is thrown in the face of anybody that brings up the obvious issues, like what I've already stated about women being offed by the man that got them pregnant. That's the number one cause of unaliving in our country. Like, if that's not enough to show the rift between men and women and how feminists that get, third wave feminists, the radical feminists that really do HATE men, like sincerely, and say like baby boys need to be offed and stuff. Of course, I'm not okay with that. But this is not that. It's like quite the opposite of that. I thought there was true egalitarianism taking place. And then to see, like, I made a video about this people thinking that women shouldn't be able to vote. This is a true sentiment taking place in many a mind across this country. And I thought that that would never happen in my lifetime. And I slowly started to see how this rhetoric that has been taking place a large part online, but people that live chronically online, especially since 2020, there are people that live most of their social lives online. And it's a real problem that it is becoming a part of our ideology that women are less than. And that is why we do need to bring some feminism back. Obviously, you're talking about like taking away our basic you pay into the system. We just got our rights to get our own credit cards in like 1979. And it's really like I was floored when I heard it. It was just like 8 years before I was born that women could get a credit card in their name. And to see how recent in time we've gained so many rights and how we are past our male counterparts. I don't say that with pleasure. It's like it's in the statistics, the logic that like most of the time men would be the first to point out like this is a lot, look at the numbers. Like women are doing better than their single male counterparts, and that is because women have always faced adversity and had to overcome it. And I know men do too, but women more so. And Mr. Carey, hey, Mr. Carey, how are you doing? Hey, Mr. Carey, can I ask you something? I know you answer me. Are you doing any better, Mr. Carey? I know you were having a hard time last time. Sorry to bring that up. But Mr. Carey, does it like concern you? And I'm not saying you're part of the problem, but does it concern you as an American citizen that the number one cause of unaliving for pregnant women in our country is the man that got her pregnant? Does that like bother you when you hear that statistic? Because this is the foundation of like what is going on. It affects women and babies. It affects unborn men and, as well as unborn women, of course. Brown said, Lydia, what's the difference between breaking up and just leave to another far away place or country, don't talk and call his or her boyfriend, girlfriend again? Well, that's if you formed a connection, said we're together as a couple, you need to talk to them and break it. It's just what's cordial. You know what I mean? Because the other is like breaking their trust, and you betray somebody, you might affect their ability to trust the next person. Just not good karma for you. And yeah, I think I might believe in karma. One of those things. I don't know for sure. Some days I do, some days I don't. So this third wave of feminism, like I agree, there's some ridiculous sentiments coming place from women too. Like there's always that, but women don't commit 95% of the violent crime. Mr. Carey said it does bother me. Tomorrow I go to the doctor hoping this procedure will help. Oh, you go for a procedure tomorrow. Yes. Okay. Praying everything goes as smoothly as possible. You don't have to wait in the waiting room. They get you back there, do it real quick, and you go home and you're pain free. I really, really hope. I'm really sorry that you're going through this right now. Hopefully this might be able to take your mind off of it. I don't know. I'm getting ready to talk about Aaron in a short while. That would probably be the most fun part of this. Yes, we are doing well. Thank you, Mr. Carey said. Hope you and your family are doing great. We're doing quite well. Thank you. And a woman being a feminist is always like touted as this like negative thing, but a man that has women that they love and want to protect in their lives can at least understand where feminists. You don't have to agree with the third wave feminists that are all radical about it, but there's people that sincerely teach their 10-year-old daughters they shouldn't be able to vote when they grow up. Like pay the taxes, get a job, get a degree, do all the other things that men do, participate in society, but you're not allowed to voice your opinion on who runs it because we're not intellectual enough and we're not logical enough. We are too emotional. Although we're talking about the people who can't seem to not think with what's in their pants. Like my husband is man enough. Like when I say these things, he's like, yeah, I get it. I understand where you're coming from. Like, can you not understand what it's like to be a woman in this society and be told like, you're less than, you shouldn't be able to have the same amount of votes because you're emotional when actually being connected to your emotions is so crucial for us. And as a home educating mom, I saw dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of families led by mothers educating them in a spiritual way. Like mothers and grandmothers are so vital. And like, we don't even allow women to age. Did you guys know we're one of three species that goes through menopause? Meaning we've evolved to keep women alive past fertility and to stop their fertility so they could give their all to the next generation because they've got so much wisdom and so much to offer. And we make them feel like crap if they don't look like they're 30 years old. Like you have to be rich and get facelifts to be honored as an old elderly woman in this country, at least, especially. It seems like in Europe they might be a little bit better about that. Like, their movie stars aren't all like 30-year-olds being paired with the 60-year-olds in every single romantic movie and things like that. Like we don't honor the divine feminine at all. And that is part of the problem. And it's women doing it too. I can't stress this enough. It's women doing it too. It's women playing a part too. And going along to get along, it's part of the hierarchy. When you're a part of some hierarchy, what's the best thing you can do is go along to get along with who's right above you. And that's what women are doing when they like mock women like me who talk about these statistics. Single women get more higher college degrees. I'm not saying that right. They buy more houses. They are earning higher incomes. And these are all things that men can easily do to themselves. And why are they not? Why are men committing more CIDE? That's very concerning. That's a huge problem. I don't know who's ODing more. That would be interesting to know because that's a huge issue in our country right now, just overall mental health and depression. And there's like people need to see, yes, part of the male loneliness epidemic is misogyny. It absolutely is. When you hate half of the population, it might impede you from being more successful in life. And women, believe it or not, often that like speak like me, we don't hate men. It's quite the opposite. I love men and I see the capability and I want better for them. And it's just funny to be pegged as like some kind of feminist that's a man hater when it it's just there. It's written in science and statistics and men are the ones crying out saying like we're lonely. Women are just like off there doing better. And what is the difference? Like man hater. Oh, women say things like men off pregnant women. They're the number one cause of their DEATHs. Or what happens when a man I'm not doing this well. What happens when a woman hates a man versus when a man hates a woman? 95% of violent crime. That's what happens. When you guys don't like us, you MURDERS. When we don't like you, we talk about how we don't like you. Woo, like, and obviously there's some need for it when like people like that are my age are talking about teaching their 10-year-old daughters not to vote. That was a story time I had in my Should Women Vote video that I made months ago, maybe even almost a year ago. Okay, Chris, you don't have to be here. But anyways, I talked about masculine and feminine energy. I think I explained it's how I feel. It's not necessarily how you have to feel. But balanced energy in partnership is crucial. That doesn't mean you have to be all feminine and him all masculine. Your energies have to match, though. They have to align. And this is true harmony. And stoicism is something I've learned from my husband because, like, you teach your husband and he teaches you from their qualities. And Mr. Carey Barbershop Gossip for Men and Salon Gossip for Women. And one thing I've learned from my husband, even though he wasn't like, let me teach you this, but like, I'm just going to call it what it is. Stoicism is to be less reactive, is to let go more and not hold on to like grudges as much. And the Stoicism is at its heart, you are born alone and you will die alone. We all die one day. And I know that sounds like really morbid to a lot of people, but if you've lost a few people and you can keep that in the back of your mind, like no matter what this person does to me today is doing right now, like one day there will be a last day with them. And how long do I want this to affect me in our relationship? Oh, Titus 2, Jesus girl said around your neck, Chris. That's funny. It took me a second to get that. Hi, Thalak. I don't know if I'm saying that right. How are you today? And yes, Titus too, Jesus girl. How are you doing? She said, love Stoic philosophy. I was just saying, I feel like I've learned that from my husband. Like I believe that we're supposed to learn from each other in marriage. And that's one thing I've learned from my husband was how to be more stoic minded. Because I've had 15 years of marriage. Once again, you'll be hard pressed to find a man hating woman that's been married for 15 years. I mean, I'm sure they're out there, but we're happily married. We don't hate each other. We don't even dislike each other most of the time. um, I'm really good. Thank you, Jesus girl. So here we're going to start talking about Aaron. You came in just in time. I already explained where I'm coming from the misogyny talk. I believe that there's an imbalance of feminine and masculine energy. I think it's happened before. I think this earth goes in cycles, and I think that we implode and start from anew. And that kind of explains, and this was in Sumerian tablets. I didn't come up with that idea on my own, but it explains why we find certain artifacts that's like, oh, they had batteries way back when we thought they didn't, and things like that. And like, we still can't explain how certain things were done. And I know, like I said, I was interested. I do believe in Jesus, but this is one reason why like Christians don't like me, because I'm open minded enough to say and think these things, but I still am not like saying I'll never be a Christian ever in my life either. And I don't think all Christians are that close minded either. But I appreciate the thumbs up. People love to thumbs me down, even though they don't understand, unless I get ratioed and it literally. But your thumbs down helps too, you nitwits. Did you see Skipper Jones' channel video? No, Brown. Is it about me, like Aaron's? F Aaron, dude is a sociopath. I know his freaking huge jaw from his constant duper's delight. He's such a loser. Joel Trump 2028. Oh gosh, Joel. I don't know after all this. I used to like Trump, Joel. I'll be the first to admit. I've always admitted I wanted Trump to win this last time. I wanted him to win the 2 times before that, and now not. Now I just feel like it's the elites taking over, and like, we're all doomed, and the only way to really survive the coming apocalypse is to homestead. No, I really do believe that, guys. Jesus Girl, the new Skipper Jones video is lame. Aaron looks like Quagmire off Family Guy. That's funny. Blue Skies Vienna said that, and that's funny. Blue Sky, you're so funny. Monica says, hi, Monica. How are you doing today? I put a link to his video. He is scared to mention you. To whose video, Blue Skies? Are you talking about Aaron or Skipper? Oh, thank you, Monica. You're so nice. Monica said I look pretty. So, okay. I want to start off with why I won't ever visit Titus. Number one, see, I was going to start off with this, but then I was like, no, I don't want to start off talking about Aaron like, oh, I'm so fired up, because I really want to explain where I'm coming from with the masculine and feminine energy thing. It affects us all. It affects men too. Unless you are like one of the most elite oligarchs, you're not going to be watching my content. Like, it affects you as much as it affects the women beside you. And men that mock it are lame. Jesus Girl, his jaw is huge from bone callus, bone overgrowth when it gets broken. Oh, you bet that. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Blue Skies, yes, Aaron makes videos referencing you having digs. Okay, I'm responding to that right now, Blue Skies. If you just came in, you caught it at the right time. You must be in sync with me. Having digs at you, meaning me. He won't mention your channel, so I put a link in his comments. Oh, you're funny, Blue Sky. That's okay. I brought it on myself. I'll be the first to say I said digs at Aaron first. I'm opening up myself for it. You make content other people, reaction commentary channel, you're opening yourself up for it too, right? So like, and I'm not saying any of you are like, oh, poor victim, but I see what you mean. It's like, he'll talk about like, what's his face, the handsome guy. He'll talk about his channel, but he won't give me any, he won't reference my channel for a reason, because he doesn't want people to go there. Dude still has a glass jaw, would love to break it again. And the way he laughs, the way Aaron laughs like a hyena. My husband heard him laugh, and he's like, "What was that? What was that?" Aaron cackling like a literal old hag. Like, it's so creepy sounding. There's a misogyny in me coming out. Like, you're not allowed to cackle unless you're an old hag. And like, you're a single old man without kids. You're a bachelor. But if you're a woman, you're an old maid. You're a hag, right? You're a spinster. So, anyways. Oh, Monica, it takes a lot of work to make my hair look like this, though. I have like a very weird hair texture, and usually it takes like an hour to look like this, so don't feel bad. Brown, who filmed that video? Is it Bill? Volunteer to Titus. I saw a camera drop. I don't know what video you're talking about. Are you talking about Aaron's video? I don't know. Okay. He just needs to get his ass beat by a girl. Jesus girl said, happy to provide that if needed, and it's needed. Yeah, he seems to want me to go there really bad. And I don't mean that like that. I don't mean like he wants me to go there, but like the way he was like, you come and report. We'll get into this. Okay. Blue Skies Anna said, yeah, he will make comments about you making videos about misogyny. He's clearly talking about you. But it's too scared to say your name, so I linked you in his video, and people will come to your channel. Thanks, Monica. You're sweet. Titus, Jesus Girl says, Titus 2, Jesus Girl. Aaron's ex-wife, Janie, lives in a house on the hill. Night and day difference from the hovel he lives in. Oh, really? Did I say that word right? I don't even know what that word means. Hovel? Brown from Skipper Jones' channel video. I don't know what you're talking about, Brown. Oh, who filmed that? I don't know, because I haven't seen Skipper Jones' video. I watched a few minutes of his content, and like, I saw like he's one of those channels you can watch a few minutes and you pretty much have seen it. He's gonna keep doing the same goofy Photoshop stuff. It's only entertaining for me for like 2 minutes of my life, and then I'm gonna move on. And I'm not saying anything about anybody else watching it. I'm just saying like I don't watch his videos. But if you guys think I should, then let me know. He's Jesus Girl, you saw Aaron's video? Yeah, I know. I almost feel like I'm like kicking down. You know what I mean? Blue Skies. Oh, do you see Titus's last video with that guy Bill collecting and cooking the various leaves? Yeah, where he ate poison ivy and he drank from the creek. The top 2 inches are okay. The top 2, yeah, there's cows and goats upstream, and I could have crapped right there. But like, we're gonna drink from the creek water. Once again, not even saying like disclaimer. Maybe you shouldn't do this. Maybe you should try. There's so many ways to filter water. Iodine drops. It's just dumb. It's so dumb. Eating poison, drinking creek water. And it's like, as a guy saying, like, like it is safe because he's washing sweet potatoes. And the guy filming Bill is like, well, creek water is safe to do this because like the top 2 inches, the sun kills the bacteria. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. And like, it could be true, but you can't bank on that. And then as he's saying that, Titus has to bend down and drink from the creek water because he's such an exhibitionist. It's so stupid. So I won't visit Titus. I want to start off with this because my content surrounding Titus is to advocate for the awareness of his past and to promote vulnerable beings not being in his presence. Yeah, I'm getting YouTube views off of it. Yeah, I like it. I don't care if anybody judges me for that. Anybody that makes YouTube content makes it in hopes that people will see it. Nobody's going to shame me and say that the lion's share. I can still get more views off of my content that's not about Titus comparatively to yours, Aaron. Nobody seems to really care that much. I shouldn't say nobody. In comparison, people aren't as interested in your background when you post other videos. And as he mentioned, mine has no value, but it has some value. Right after he's like, oh, and it has no value. But philosophical, like actual discussions about actual things instead of saying, hey, look at me. Look at me. I know something you don't know, and I'm not going to tell you. This is Aaron's content for a year now, guys. I'm not wrong. I'm not giving my opinion. This is Aaron At's content. Look at me. Look at me. I want you to look at me. I know something you don't know, and I'm not going to tell you. Then I can say, I can't say everything I know right now. That's fine. Everybody that wants to, watch his content, it's fine. Mr. Carey said, we learned a new word today, Hovel, or I did. Ray, I learned new words. You learn new words all the time. Oh, I missed a lot of comments. I'm sorry. Hovel, other forms of hoveling. A hovel is a small shed or dwelling, often messy, cramped, and crudely built. Crudely. Okay. Collecting and cooking the various leaves is so funny. I was thinking about you the whole time of what you would say. Oh, Blue Skies, you're so funny. I didn't read your whole comment. Okay. Sand is a great filter as yes, you're right. You could make filters easily. You could at least try, some rock, sand, charcoal. And Bill says something. Titus just says, because he can't accept advice from anyone else. Blue Skies, I saw what you meant. When they were, okay, and he's talking about like off-grid cooking. Clearly, you barely ever cook in that stove, ever, Titus, ever. He's like, never started a fire in there. You clean out the ash. The number one thing you do when you're cooking in a wood stove is you clean out the ash. There's a bunch of ash. He's like, it's humid in here. There's a bunch of humid ash. What a dumbass. Gosh, it's like, and this is who people are supposed to follow for any kind of advice on anything. And he was like, he did, to give Titus credit. He was like, Bill, how do you do this? Bill has done this more than me. And it's like, is people still think he lives off grid. You know what I mean? He doesn't. He probably eats like beans out of a can for most of his meals. He looks so bad, you guys. Pause and zoom in. He looks like a concentration camp victim. His cheeks are so sallow. His bones stick out so bad in his face. He looks like he's starving to death because he is, in my opinion. Plant-based diets will make you starve to death, in my opinion. You don't do them right. They're extremely hard to do right long term. And most people that do them long term end up looking skeletal. Listen, we're not made to look skeletal. I think that, Americans have a little bit more weight on them in average than they should. Brown said in the video I heard Titus say, "Put it down, Bill, put it down." I wonder what he's talking about. Monica said, "Hi." Okay, so I know I said hi back to Monica. Sorry, I'm spending so much time. He looks like he's doing lots of math. Where METH is math, code word. Math is a code word for that. Titus is lazy. Yes, exactly. And in my opinion, his parents were like, "Yeah, we'll buy you that 40 acres over there so you can go over there and stay out of our hair." Blue Sky said, "Hey, did you see his lighter? It's like a crack pipe lighter." Yes, I'm glad you brought that up, Blue Skies. Thank you. Okay, so if you guys don't know what you're talking about, Blue Skies, it's like a crack pipe lighter, and he said he made sure to say he found it while walking by the house of prayer. Yes, I did see that. If anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, it's a special torch. It's not your typical cigarette lighter. And I have gotten those lighters before because I've done epoxy resin work, and it helps to be able to aim the flame. And when I myself bought one of those lighters, I remember being like, "Oh, I hope they don't think I smoke crack." Because that's what those lighters are used for. Yes, this is like a total DRUGGIE lighter, and it's extra big too. So it's like, oh, it's totally possible somebody on substances could drop that and lose that. But it is super interesting as well. Hi, John. How are you doing today? Oh, thank you, Monica. And Jesus Girl, I'm sure he did find it. He dropped it there while twerking, right? Probably. Or one of his friends, or one of the people that, come to live there. And okay, so now we're talking specifically about what Aaron said about me, because we all know he was talking about me, right? Even though he's not going to come out and say it, 50-year-old man doesn't have uh, he's a coward. I know, like I said, I brought it on myself. I brought up Aaron first. I called him a loser. I'm opening, the gates for him to say whatever he wants about me. As I mentioned to you guys before, there was times where I would be at work and this man would email me dozens and dozens. My Proton mail is 50% full because of Aaron Atz, because he would email and email and email. I still have 16 unopened, unread emails because it was just too much. And I'm like, can you? And it was like he was trying to get me to post certain things in my videos. I have no idea. I'm glad that he dropped it. I'm glad he said he wanted to interview me. And I remember telling my husband, I don't know what there is to talk about, but anything to bring awareness to Titus, and I'm sure some people would like to see us together, because we both were trying to bring awareness, I thought, against Titus, I thought. And Monica, so Aaron is starving. I was talking about Titus, Monica, Titus Morris. He does not eat any meat or dairy, and he is John. Titus had this lighter that he said he found on the ground on his property. That's it will use with crack pipes, basically. It's this little torch thing. I don't know if you know what we're talking about, but people are just joking about how he's twerking, and that was him. Yes, Aaron is a weirdo, Blue Skies V, and I agree. And I know it's mean to call him names, and I apologize for calling him a loser. But if anybody thinks this isn't weird behavior for some man to think he's some kind of PI or journalist, and he says he's fulfilling his dreams in Casey County, I don't know doing what, but it is sincerely, it really does make me hope someday he finds something more fulfilling. It's just weird that you would even. Okay, so let's get into this. Aaron has plenty of government cheese. Yeah, I wonder, Jesus Girl. Brown, does Bill upload videos too? And how did Super? Oh, so he has a video from their property. Monica, he's rude. Sorry. Yeah. Jesus Girl, Torchlighter used to do math, is what we're calling METH, Breaking Bad drugs. Rugs. Gosh darn it. Jesus Girl, Aaron Atz is regarded. Okay. So Aaron said no value, but then right after that, he's like, well, there is some value to philosophical discussions, because I actually talk about stuff. As I don't just say, hey, look at me and look at my face, and I know something, no, 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 boo, boo. I'm not like that. I don't have it in me. If I'm going to talk about something, I'm like, oh, I'm kind of fired up. I'm ready to talk about this today. Like that property tax video. It's just something that was been on has been on my mind for, several times over the years, especially after becoming a property owner, and, stuff like that, that it's nice to have the ability to put it on YouTube because I don't have social media, and even if you do, it's neither here or there. It's nice to be able to, like, have the ability to cultivate an audience. It's like, "Yeah, let's have these cool discussions," and, like, you don't have to agree with everything I say. "Hey, Martin, how are you doing today?" Jesus girl said, "Honey, he's just jelly because you're smart, your husband didn't leave you, and you have everything going for you." His life is the opposite. Yeah, and when he tried to dig back that we live in a double wide, that was really funny to me, and this is what I have to say to that. Me and my husband have built a very good life, although we are like, I'm ashamed to say we're low income because we don't really get any help from the government, none at all currently, not for years, and that's fine with me. We had gotten a little help in forms of, like, this government waiver for my oldest son, for autism therapies. We got help paying for a private preschool for him. Anyways, there's been times my children have been on Medicaid. They aren't right now, and, like, I'm very grateful for the help that we have gotten, but, like, I'm also very proud of the fact that we built this life all on our own. Say whatever you want about my double wide, I'm sure I pay way less and have way more equity in this than anything you own after somebody that's been divorced twice, and that's what lies at the heart of the bitterness, and there's bitterness inside so many men regarding all women. And that's what the root of, misogyny is and the imbalance of feminine and masculine energy, and it affects men too. I can't stress I mean, women too. I can't stress that enough. It's not just like, being in the victim mentality because that's the opposite of stoicism. As I said, I feel like I've learned the most being married and sharing my life with a man for most of my life since I was 19 years old. We've been together 18 years, 15 years. Um, and I do agree, I think he's a little jealous, and Aaron said, I should visit, and, like, basically, he doesn't think I should be able to talk about anything regarding Titus because it's, like, secondhand, third-hand, fourth-hand information, and I'm just, like, reiterating, which I don't really feel like I do. I feel like that's what he does. I think he's, like, projecting and talking about himself because I will mention, "Oh, yeah, this," like, when people ask me, What did Aaron say about court?" Because so many people ask me that, Aaron, because you always say, "I'm going to court. I'm in court today," and you make people get these expectations, but then you let them down, and, like, after the 2nd or 3rd time of that, I'm like, "Obviously, this is his MO. He's gonna, like, keep doing this because he's thriving off the attention he's getting." I like knowing that I am helping because I've had people comment, "Oh, I didn't know this. I'm so glad I found your video." I like knowing that I'm helping spread awareness of Titus Morris's past. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know why you can't seem to stay away from him and his road, but in my opinion, it seems like he idolizes him or something. And people say like he's doing it for Jeff, and I didn't know until recently Jeff still owns a property by them. So that kind of does make sense. Maybe he is helping to be Jeff's little guard dog. I remember he made this video a few months ago on his other channel where he's like, "I'm in a cove. I'm in a cove in Casey County, Kentucky. I'm in a cove. Batman in his cove." He thinks he is too cool for school, and he's not. He's not. He's like in somebody else's house because that's the thing with these like patriarchal men. Yeah, I'm using another feminist talking point. You just like rub shoulders with other people. You think you are them by association. You're not. That wasn't your nice house. That wasn't your cove. This isn't your county. This isn't even your state. And it's fine if you want to move here and make Kentucky your life because it is so great and make a channel off of that. You can't seem to keep away. Like, I do want to show you guys more of Kentucky. It's just been unfortunate. I've been like working so much and then, down in bed after a major surgery. But there are so many beautiful, great things about Kentucky. It seems like Titus used to, like, he went to Creelsville Arch. That's like an hour or so away from me. It's this natural formation where Indians used to meet. It's just so special. And then the settlers met. It's where some of the first, like, kind of political meeting of the church was taking place there. It's just an important meeting place, very special place right along the Cumberland River. And they went to caves and stuff. Notice how Titus and Stephanie don't put any effort into their content as far as that. They're just like always in the weeds. Always talking about stinging nettle. I'm so sick of hearing about stinging nettle. And like they did branch out and talk about some more plants. And like we were just saying, they are drinking from the creek and eating poison ivy, which my mom never got poison ivy, and I've always wanted to see. I've never gotten it either, and I wonder if I'm one of those people that's just like immune to it. Some people just genuinely don't get it. He might be those people he knew like he doesn't get it, and he puts on that act like eating it, because my mom didn't have to eat it to not get it. But anyways, Some videos Aaron hasn't uploaded yet, I think there's more. Yeah, there's always more according to him. Not to say anything against you, Brown, but it's just like, um, I do have a lot of updating to do in our double wide. We put a lot of money down because the interest rates were high. We own way more than we owe on this. You know what I'm saying? It's over an acre, and we replaced a lot of the flooring. We replaced the flooring in my two sons' bedrooms first, and the living room flooring next, and then the next we have to do this, and then like all the linoleum and um, yeah, I do wanna update it, but I'm still proud of it, and I still love our neighborhood, and I love the life that I've built, and there's nothing anybody could say. I put it out there myself, I live in a double wide, and that I'm low income, that I'm a factory worker, because I wanna be an example of, like, a happy, fulfilled person in service of others in their community, can build a life, and one day have a farm. In my 40s, I will have a farm. Watch me at 50 years old. I will be broadcasting from my farm. I won't be visiting somebody else's. Trailers can be nice. I just wouldn't want to live in a trailer park. Right, John? Right. I completely agree with that. The lot rent is insane. Ideally, you own the land it's on. Yeah, for sure. There's so many beautiful properties with single wides and double wides. It's like half of the residences out in the country in Casey County and counties like in Kentucky. And Aaron knows that. He's insulting so many people, making fun of double. I don't even have to say much about that. He's just doing it all himself. You're the one that's like camping out because when I remember when he was in Alabama, he had no cover plates. I know that sounds petty, but it's true. Like you can't even put cover plates on your outlet. Aaron, that's like, at least my double wide has all the cover plates on the outlet. Aaron said you talk about misogyny where there is no misogyny. Well, yeah, well, okay, Brown, you're entitled to agree with that, but misogyny is everywhere, and I just explained how the imbalance of feminine and masculine energy has created misogyny, which is the hatred of women. The opposite of egalitarianism, saying women are less than men. And I believe women can be misogynistic too. A lot of people say the definition is men hating women, but I believe women can be as misogynistic. And I haven't even gotten into like, the adult media, sex work. There's so much involving this misogyny that is negatively affecting all of us. It's like to be reactive and like knee jerk, like you said I was bad, you're a feminist, that is bad, is quite reactive. It's quite emotional, quite feminine, if I may say so myself. So, like, you're entitled to your own opinion, but if you can't hear statistics, like the number one reason pregnant women are unalived is the man that got them pregnant in our country, and like be concerned with that and like wonder where is this hate of women coming from? Why can't we treat our own women better? I can't, bring you to that conclusion. That's fine. But some women and men feel that way. John, Aaron just thinks he knows it all. He has no regard to the fact that he himself participated in all of this. Right. He's right there filming the videos of Titus saying, like, he said he was sorry for rape, IPINGing horses. Like, let's be real. He did post the court videos. Yes. And but he was all about like sitting there crying with Titus about sin and stuff, right? Jesus girl, mic drop. John, that's the only reason he makes these things to try the hero when he should really be charged as well. Yeah, see, he wants me to stop making my content because he wants the lion's share. He said my videos, my content on Titus is the lion's share, in my view. Fine, that's fine with me. I have a very small channel and I'm slowly building an audience that I feel like is a great audience, you guys. Like, I really appreciate the people that give me their time and commentary on whatever I'm commentating on. I am very appreciative and trying hard to follow a certain path, not just like constantly putting out content, trying to get attention like he does. Like that's what I feel like he does. And I wouldn't say this if he didn't say what he said. And it was funny, one of the comments on his video was like, "I can't what are you talking about? Like, you need to, like, let us know what you're talking about. It's hard to know what you're talking about." And it's like, that's how so much of his content is. It's, like, so vague. I will tell you exactly what I'm talking about. I will tell you exactly where I got my information from, why I think this, what experiences, what anecdotal evidence, what scientific evidence I have as well. Aaron doesn't provide anything like that. He's just, like, he wants to get me to stop making Titus content. So his big ass face will pop up all the time. He won't even talk about how Titus committed bestiality with horses for 10 years well into his adulthood. and had a 12-year-old assisting him or whatever, and his removal of his foreskin as an adult, as well as swimming nude with children present as an adult. Why doesn't Aaron, anybody supports Aaron, can you please explain to me why he never talks about that? Because I'm not going to say like everybody needs to make content exactly like me. But as far as like this Titus Moore situation, I think I've made it clear what my what I would like to accomplish with my content. That is to spread awareness so less vulnerable beings are ever in his presence ever again. But for some reason, Aaron seems to be incapable of bringing up anything but the supposed unaliving attempts of people in Titus's circle, or one that was real, supposedly. Why can't he talk about the kids and the horses? Okay, he can make jokes about the horses. Um, Mr. Carey, what are you I don't know what you mean by that, Mr. Carey. Is that slang for something? I'm such an old lady. He said, I like Aaron Tippin with a thumbs up. I don't get that. Blue skies, quagmire face, Aaron. That's so funny. Oh my gosh, you guys are so funny. And then like, I don't like talking about people's looks, but he was talking about like obviously this video is about me, right? And he's like talking about a sour face. So, like some people have a sour face some of the time. I don't know what he's talking about. Um, it looks to me like you've been clenching your jaw for the last 50 years. I don't, you want to talk about like faces, but the reason I bring that up is because he says, I don't want to be around that. I don't find that attractive. This is misogynistic, okay? You are misogynistic. We aren't here for you to look at. I'm not here just to be attractive for any man, for the male gaze. Aaron thinks a woman is only useful if active. I don't want to be around that. I'm not attracted to that because that's all that matters to me, who see women as lesser beings with no value. That's all they see us as objects, made to look pretty and to not talk. Even when it comes to a child, molestar, somebody who messes with kids like Titus Morris and animals, I'm supposed to sit down and shut up and just be pretty? No. And I'm not saying that Aaron thinks I'm pretty. I'm not saying that, guys. Just saying that was really funny that he would say that. That is misogyny right in front of freaking faces in your video. I'm not attracted. He literally said that I don't want to be around that. I don't find that attractive. 50-year-old man, everything in life is about your fifis and what you find attractive. I'm more stoic than you, Aaron. Balls than you. I swear to God, I do. You don't intimidate me. You don't make me feel less for a second. You don't make me feel less intellectual, less smart. You actually make me see how smart I am. I'm 38 years. You've got 12 years on me. And I've done more with my life as far as intellectualism than you have. That's like easy for anybody with any discernment to see. And anybody that's like on Aaron's side completely is like, yeah, Aaron, yeah. Number one cause of pregnant women becoming unalived is the man who got them pregnant. Like, that's what you're cheering on somebody speaking up about. Like, that's fine. You don't think that men should improve? You think everything is women's fault? Like Titus, like that Jewish guy is with, it's always pointing finger at the women. Literally everything is women's fault. We're the glue that are holding all of society together. We're doing better than you in every aspect, literally every aspect. We are why we can even be here, because of our nurturing and our care and our empathy and our compassion. Everybody needs good women in their lives. Aaron Tippin is a country singer. Oh, I had no idea, Mr. Carey. That's okay. That's funny. So you like him. Brown. I don't know that many country songs. And the country music I do like tend to be females. They just do. I don't know. It's like the harmonizing of their voices and stuff. Like I love Shadazy and Dixie Chicks when I was younger. Brown said, so far as I have seen with this Titus story and situation with all this, I have seen no one has been misogynistic. Okay, Brown. All right. Well, I see extreme misogyny with culture that says, number one, Titus can be the head of whatever church or house of prayer, whatever the heck they want to call it, but a female couldn't just because of, body, her sex organs. And as well as, I do believe that inside the home, okay, this is interesting. This is a hot take. I do think that there should be some kind of like hierarchy, for lack of a better term, in the home. And that is one thing that Christianity does have down pat. But the submission part, so many men think that like they're literally going to be the head of every single decision. If you really love the woman you're with and you have a real partnership and family together, most of the time women do the abundance of the child care. It's just true. She's going to make the abundance of the decisions. You have to trust her with a lot. And I do think that that is one time where it's helpful to be like, yeah, there's God, the man, the woman, the children, and understand that as a concept. I'm not saying I live it 110% myself, but I do understand that. And then we took that and we try to project it on all of society. Not healthy. We need to be equal, men and women. We need to be equal when with outside the door. Does that make sense? We are equal inside the door, but you start putting men above women in all of society in every single aspect, it's not fair. Doesn't It's not conducive to progression. And yes, we do need to progress in some ways. I'm not talking about being a progressive liberal. As I've stated, I lean towards conservatism. His songs, Kiss This, You Gotta Stand for Something, You Fall for Anything songs. Those are good songs by Aaron Tippin, Mr. Carey. I might look that up. I like the Mavericks. You know the Mavericks? They're a country band from like the early 90s. My parents got me listening to them when I was younger. They are beautiful. Like I love bluegrass. Yeah. Blue Sky said, "Yeah, I don't talk about people. Looks like he is literally a quagmire." My half uncle drove the bus for the Kentucky Headhunters back in the day, Mr. Carey said. Oh, cool. Skipper Jones, I like your background wall art. Where did it come from? Amazon, Skipper. It was like $9. Mr. Carey, Brian Adams sang a song, If You Love a Woman. Brian Adams, I know who that is. Yeah, good songs. And yes, love the Mavericks. Now I want to listen to the Mavericks. They're one of those people, one of those bands, you pull out every several months and have to listen to a few songs. So we're talking about how unintellectual Aaron Apps is, and okay, so what he said, women needing men is like a fish. Gloria Steinem or some feminist said, because you bring up the obvious things like the male loneliness epidemic. Am I a feminist for bringing up the male loneliness epidemic? This is a legit thing. Many people have written articles about. Many men themselves have addressed that. I'm sure wouldn't consider themselves feminists. There is a reason why these things are happening, and in order to like really help men, like you have to address the hatred of half of the human race. Black Hawk is playing in Lexington, I believe, this month. Who is Black Hawk? Is that another country group, or is that a rock group? I need to branch out in my music. I listen to the same music I listen to. I think it's like part of becoming a mom really young. You know what I mean? Like I stopped like trying to find new bands when I was like 18. I still listen to all the same crap. I shouldn't say crap. A lot of it isn't crap. But so he said something about like women, this feminist saying that women need a man like a fish needs a bicycle. Once again, I've been married for 15 years to a man, a very, I don't want to say manly man, to a man, okay? He knows all about me and my big mouth. He knows all about how I feel, as well as our 3 sons. I birthed 3 sons. I definitely don't think men, I'm not saying men, this is what people seem to hear. Men are the root of the problem. Misogyny is the root of the problem. That is an idea that is seeping into, and I already said this, like there's countries where women used to be able to wear bikinis and pants, and now they have to cover up in a burqa. Like, this does happen to progressive societies. Their women lose rights. It could happen here. And I used to think it was crazy a few months before Trump won. People were talking about like their birth control and all this thing. And I'm like, wow, it wasn't, I was wrong thinking that Trump wasn't going to be as authoritative as he is. He's way too authoritative for my taste, but we're not here for politics. Once again, I'm a centrist. I see both sides. I don't hate on anybody for whoever they align with. I really don't. And I don't think men are the root of the problem. It's the hatred of women, and it comes from both sides. Once again, I say that every single time I bring it up. Women can be diabolical. I think we all know that. Mr. Carey, another 90s country band. Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow. I probably have heard of them. I just can't think of any songs right off the top of my head. So I don't have to go visit Titus. All I have to do is watch his content, his background. It's so easy to point out the harmful misinformation that they perform in their content, like all the time. Um, so Aaron's kind of all over the place in the last part of his video, talking about like critical thinking. He doesn't say critical thinking, but that's what he's talking about. I'm gonna finish his thought for him. He's talking about you don't believe everything you hear in school. And I don't know, it's like right after the feminist talk, like we don't learn crap about feminism in school. It's hard to follow him. Like one of his commenters said, it's hard to follow you, man. Like, what are you talking about? Can you tell us what you're talking about? And he says he's fulfilling his dreams in Casey County, Kentucky. That's fine. Go fulfill your dreams with the horseflies. Like, I don't care what you do. your life on YouTube, like, people are allowed to comment on it. You're allowed to, like, try to make fun of me for living in a double wide that's almost paid off, and I'm sure, you probably got everything taken from you in your 2 divorces, and that's why you're really perturbed by a happily married woman who is allowed to speak her mind, because my husband has evolved instead of staying stagnant. So he says at one point, "This is one of my ideas." Division is the most important commodity. I agree with him. I totally agree with him. There's been culture wars, there's been gender wars, there's been race wars, and that is an effort to make us distracted from the greatest wealth transfer to ever take place. It started really around 2020, but long before that, really. It started in 1913 with the creation of the Federal Reserve. Something I know I mentioned in one of my videos already. And I'm not saying that Aaron took that from me or anything. I'm just saying, like, he thinks that's one of his ideas. No, I think one of that's a good point, and I agree with you. You're not the first one to, like, come up with that idea, and, that, like, elites rule us no matter what party is ruling at the time. Once again, I feel like I'm doing a better summation of the actual words he said and clarifying them. Tell me if I'm wrong, but, yeah, I agree with that. Elites are sowing division, and they are runs the country, and the heart of it is their corporations. This country set up for business owners, and it's just spun out of control to the end of late stage capitalism where they simply can't siphon anything else from us, and they're going to find that out soon. I think they are already finding that out, but they're not letting us know as fast as they know. And John, you need to take a pic with Boots and post it for Aaron that says Boots on the ground. Titus's last video was comedy, so funny. Are you talking about the one we were talking about, Blue Skies, where he's like walking around eating the plants and drinking from the creek? Norma, how are you doing, Norma? I'm older than I could not understand what side he's on with this misogyny subject. Well, Norma, I you saw the beginning of my video, but if I could sum it up for you real quick, just in case you didn't. Where I'm coming from is I believe we all are mostly made of energy. They say there's empty space in our cells, but that's actually energy, in my opinion. And it's like scientific fact, really. I shouldn't say my opinion, but we are made of masculine and feminine energy. Most women are mostly feminine, and most men are mostly masculine just by nature. That's why there are the gender stereotypes that there are. However, there is a strong imbalance, and it has been skewed to the point where there is a hate of women coming from both sides. Women are oppressed all over most of the world, and it's even, coming to talks of oppressing us and here in the US not letting us vote. There's seriously, like, politicians and legit intellectuals that think women shouldn't be able to vote. So that's like a summary of it. Like, I believe that it's an imbalance of energies that occur naturally, and it's part of this crazy cycle where we're at the end of a cycle at the end of times. And Aaron just proved to me, in my opinion, that he is a misogynist, especially when he said that crap about, I don't want to be around that. I don't find that attractive. What a little princess. I couldn't imagine walking through the world thinking that the opposite sex was just made to be attractive for me. And Aaron at still said, I want to remind everybody, I sure talk a lot for somebody who's never met Titus. And he said in this video that, like, basically I shouldn't talk because I haven't gone and met Titus. The people that I have warned about Titus's past who have thanked me, who are grateful that they didn't go visit him or spend any money or give any more of their time and energy giving, him views with his, they're the reason I do this. I'm not trying to get, like, as much attention as possible. I prayed on it. I believe what comes my way is meant to be, and I do what I do because I sincerely feel like people should know about Titus's past. Um, Mr. Carey, you're not the only one now. Okay, what was said? Am I the only one who okay. Blue Sky said, "Am I the only one who wonders if Titus used a stepladder?" Norma, dude is on the incel side. Jesus girl said about yeah, I think he's and that's gonna come off as like he calls me a feminist, a bitter incel, it's like tit for tat, but I think it's kind of obvious what's going on here. Mr. Carey, I didn't until you mentioned that, Blue. Ah, Blue Skies, only one now, Blue. Mr. Carey said, okay, Jesus girl, no one finds Aaron attractive or he wouldn't be such an angry incel. I think that's one reason he loves the attention he gets online. I have seen a handful of comments that are like, oh, Aaron, you're so attractive. And in my opinion, that's a Jezebel spirit. If you're a woman throwing yourself at any man in any kind of way, I don't care if it's just through YouTube comments. You're better than that. You should be better than that. And it's the women that vie for men's attention that aren't their husbands. I don't care if you're single. There are women, the women, that are like, "Haha, look at me." Like, it's like, throw your panties at the rock star energy on the stage. It's desperate, and it's part of the downfall, and it's the root of misogyny too, because you have low self-esteem, your feminine energy is too low, you've been taught this and that about femininity that's wrong, and about sexual liberation that's wrong, and you find your worth and validation in saying, "Hey, you're a cutie." And I think that's a Jezebel spirit. I think that's part of the problem too. Part of the downfall is adult media. Huge part of the downfall is adult media. Cannot stress that enough. Sex work is not work. It is not work. I don't care if you're going to call it the oldest profession. It is not work. If it is work, it's the least safe, most unsustainable, dangerous form of work anybody could do. Let's face it, mostly women. It is not safe. It is not. We need to teach our daughters that their bodies are precious. Like, we need to, like, promote not doing that, not sharing yourself and your energy in any way, shape, or form. And I asked my husband if it was okay if I said this, because I made a part one about adult media, like this video that wasn't a lie. Jesus Girl said word. Mr. Carey thumbs up. Um, Blue Sky said it's not all I wonder, but I'll leave it at that for now. LOL. When Stephanie gets pregnant, Titus will recommend folic acid. Yeah, they won't know the difference between folate and folic acid, even though there is a difference. John, it's no different than that blonde farm chick who kicks her animals and makes coffee while milking. Jesus Girl 100. Thanks, Jesus Girl, for your support. Um, Gosh, I feel like maybe I got a little too. I don't want. No, no. I think everybody that's going to sit through my content for over an hour is going to understand at a certain point. Uh, this isn't meant to be divisive. This isn't meant to point the finger. It's like it's basic psychology and sociology. Like, we can look around and we can see it and have discussions about it and actually be a part of changing things for the next generations. I feel like we are getting better slowly as a society. Like, it wasn't that long ago in the 1950s, there were sitcoms, The Honeymooners, where this guy would joke about punching his wife, to the moon, Alice, with his fist up in the air. And that wouldn't be okay today. Like, we are evolving, right? Like, we are getting better, right? Overall, yes. Yes, we are. Not enough people. Of course, there's still always gonna be hateful, mean, racist, horrible people. Of course, there's always gonna be bad people. There's always gonna be bad parents. But overall, we treat each other better. We treat our spouses better. We treat our children better. And Jesus Girl said, speaking of misogyny, I've never seen someone who hates herself and other women so much as Stephanie. Right. And that's part of because I've said it before, like, obviously, Titus 2, Jesus Girl, is a Christian, you can tell by her name, so I don't wanna speak down on Christianity or make any Christians feel like that's what I'm doing, because I've said over and over again, like, I am interested in it, I've been drawn to it. I have, the Bhagavad Gita up here, that's a holy book from Hinduism. I have, the Tibetan Book of the Dead and some other Buddhism books. There's not really, like, uh, Buddhist texts are, all over the place. But I have a lot of texts that I've read, and a copy of the Quran. I couldn't really read through the Quran that much because I don't like reading holy texts that talk about unaliving unbelievers every other page. And so I learned a lot. I studied world religions in college. You want to talk about like intellectual shit, Aaron? I started college full time when I was 16 years old, and world religions was one of my favorite subjects. And the professor of that class was a Seventh-day Adventist preacher. I don't know if they call themselves preachers. I could probably look him up because this was in Broward County, Florida, and, the way he spoke about Seventh-day Adventists, I thought it was so cool. I didn't realize what I do now, and I'm not saying they're all bad people either. They're all, like, cult-like, because I know that they're not. But that was my introduction to that part of Christianity, and a lot of, the way he was with religions was so cool, and that's how I would like to be, like, really accepting of all of it. And I know that some it might come off as, like, too loose of a belief system for some people, but I'm admittingly still trying to find my faith, and I want to develop a stronger faith. And Norma said, "Agreed, she's one unhappy phony." And okay, so I'm, like, getting off. The misogyny, the way that she would complain about her husband and then go in the way she acts all, like, meek and mild in front of Titus, a child, and one of my commenters said this, it wasn't me, but they mentioned Stockholm syndrome. And from what's been said about her past, like probably did go through some stuff as a child, and her mother hasn't been the most stable mother, and the the number one predator of children is a non-biological father being present in the home. And this is something that I believe Stephanie experienced. I believe she had a stepfather, and it is sad that it's like part of the cycle that she would say, "Oh, my husband Jeff is like abusive and controlling." Well, he wasn't too controlling to not allow you to move, like uproot your family and go all the way from Indiana to Kentucky because of somebody that you adored from afar. Let's be real. And it was because of how she came off as this religious woman, in my opinion, that it was even possible for her husband to think, "Oh, you want to go, learn to live off the land in that community? Okay, fine." It's kind of funny to me because if you think if Titus was in a belt buckle and a shirt and normal clothes, like he was talking about, would Jeff have felt the same, And it's like you put on these costumes, and part of the costume is, to cover yourself up, and I felt it from certain women and not Mennonites honestly seem to be, like, pretty happy people, like, they're more joyous and it's more apparent. There's a lot of women that cover up, like, head to toe, and it's like they're doing it and they're judging all the other women that aren't doing that, and that comes from a place of, like, really bad insecurity. Once again, like the low self-esteem, low feminine energy. If you knew your power as a woman, you can stay at home, that's fine. If you knew your power as a life-giving, pleasure-giving woman, uh, I know that might like rub some people the wrong way, but it's true. Then you would, be more empowered in your marriage and all your relationships. And I don't believe she would be where she is. And that's why it's sad. But she's responsible for 3 lives, and she's affected them greatly. That's all I'm gonna say. So I created my YouTube account 2011. What are we talking about now, Mr. Carey? Okay, I'm gonna read your comments. Jesus girl, Aaron and Stephanie tried to accuse me of making my username because I'm a Titus M fan girl, except YouTube list creation dates. I opened this account 5. Yeah, yeah, you can tell when you made it before anyone knew about Titus Morris. Blue Sky said, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. I've read all those books that you have, and ultimately you will find Jesus is the truth. I was a Buddhist until I found myself choking to death in a cave, 75% melted. What are you talking about, Blue Skies? How old? Do you mind if I ask you how old you were? And um, yeah, I meant to make a video, but like people's testimonies and how I feel like since I don't have a testimony, I can't like I don't know. It's you guys make me feel safe talking about it, but I don't want to offend anybody. Blue Sky said, "But it was God I prayed to save my life." Okay. I've heard of a lot of near-death experiences bringing people closer to Jesus. Either they saw him or they prayed to him and were helped. Jesus girl, not sure. I believe Stephanie regarding her stepdad or Connie for that matter. Right. Yeah, you're right. You can't believe anything really with people like that. Jesus girl said, "We are meaning women. Pleasure getting also, yeah, right. Pretty sure Stephanie has never been a receiver of pleasure. We actually can receive more pleasure, if you know what I mean. Like the way we built, like, and I think that's part of what we get for what we have to go through every month in childbirth and stuff. There's like a Buddhist saying, like, basically the amount of pleasure a woman can get is like tenfold that of a man. I think we all know how that works. And I don't have to go into detail. Mr. Carey, Jesus Girl was talking about when she created her account, and I thought I would check when I made my account. I see. Oh, you guys are so funny and cute. Blue skies, excuse my language, but it's true. No, I don't think you said any bad language. I appreciate you sharing with us. Like I've definitely had times I feel like God was with me, but I haven't had any times where it's like uh, Jesus is speaking to me, or I see something like, and that's part of what makes me feel like I can't say I'm a born again Christian, and I can't say I believe 100% all the stories in the Bible, and I wanna be like, well, one of my favorite books, The Alchemist, like, it's one of the best books I've ever read. I don't think it literally happened word for word, I can still learn a lot of lessons from it, you know what I mean? But then, am I being a fake Christian if I don't believe literal interpretations of um, stories from the Bible, and I kind of struggle with that, and then I think I wasn't instilled with it early enough. Um Hey, blue skies. Do you know Aaron asks? He's a caver, Jesus girl said. And blue sky, I don't know him personally, but I know Aaron from his videos. Yeah. Jesus girl said Titus will never find the CILT. CLIT. He's too dumb to find common sense, let alone other things. It's probably, like, not clean enough, you know? There's a lot of, like, Muslim men that don't believe in giving women pleasure. Norma Meek, I tuned in late. Thanks for explaining. You're welcome, Norma. So, and that is part of misogyny, okay? So, like, the adult media we do have, it often depicts, like, the man and his pleasure. It doesn't depict the woman and her pleasure. That's misogyny. That's another example of it. I thoroughly believe if men bled every month upward for a week of each month of their lives, our whole society would be based around the fact that men bled every month for upward a week of a month, every month of their lives. If men birthed babies and nursed them, breasts wouldn't be like the sexual objects that they are in our society. If we weren't so misogynistic, there wouldn't have to be nurse-ins like 10, 15 years ago when I was a young mom. People was like, were trying to make it a point that like every other movie I saw just contained topless woman after topless woman. But if you went to feed your baby with those, what they're made for, that's a problem, you know? Like that's a kind of misogynistic society when every other movie you watch in the early 2000s has multiple pairs of breasts in it, but at the same time period, you were shamed for nursing your baby in public. And I don't believe in being an exhibitionist with it. I know there's always those women that ruin it for the rest of us, right? They got to like show both of their bit. And I was always good about like covering up and everything and covering up enough. And there'd still be people that would ask me to leave the room. Like just the act of a woman feeding her baby is too much. That's a misogynistic society because like everywhere you look, there's boobs and cleavage, you know? Jesus girl, Aaron probably thinks women should be FGM'd, female GAN at all. I can say these things. I'm not monetized, right? Mutilation. Yes. Yeah. Misogyny is rampant all over the world. There's so many cultures where women aren't allowed, you know, they're put off in a hut where they're likely to get bit by a venomous snake or spider because of their natural cycle that occurs every month. They're not allowed to go to school when they're on their period. Like women are so unsupported and oppressed in most of the world. If you laugh at anybody talking about misogyny, your problem. That's how I feel about it. And you're free to laugh at it. You know, you're free to like think that it's all fun and games. That's fine. Mr. Carey said the cliz is the dangling thing in the throat. I know where it is. Just kidding. We're all Mr. Carey's kidding. Jesus girl, people couldn't handle seeing women being given pleasure. It's too hot. Mr. Carey, just kidding, not whatever my keyboard spelled just yet. Yeah. Um, it probably would be a little too you're right, Jesus girl. Um, Misogyny is not something that like we can correct overnight. It takes like addressing it and then pointing it out. Like what I'm talking about right now, then it's like everyday life. You're like, oh wow, you know, oh wow, he just said I don't want to be around that. That's not attractive. He's one of those. He's a man that looks as women as objects. And once again, proven with brain scans, like all these things can be proven with science and statistics. And it's not me being a misandrist. It's the opposite of that. It's saying men have way more capabilities than this. Men can be so great. Strong masculinity, like true masculinity, the care and like the gentle nature of the protector that is a real masculine figure is just as needed as the nurturing and care of a female that I mentioned earlier. It's just that like we honor as soon as we see a dad be a dad, we're like, oh, it's so great. Give him kudos. Like, yeah, you should. You know, if a dad just like cooks for his children, people are like amazed by it. Like, oh, it's great. Like we need to give homers and mothers that stay at home because a lot of dads stay at home too. Technically, my husband stays at home more than me. Now, for most of our marriage, I did, but like that's part of the dance of marriage. There's a give and take, and like I said, overall, feminine is like receiving and masculine is giving, but there's always going to be a a dance, an ebb and flow. Things in marriage, like I don't ever want to come off as like I think I'm better than anybody because I've been married for 15 years. But it's just funny to me that anybody would call me a man hater when I say things like my husband made me a homeowner by the time I was 30, and I give him credit for that. I totally submit to my husband in a lot of ways people would probably be surprised about because of my strong assertive nature and in public forums or whatever. But that's the beauty of the partnership. No matter what boss babe or if you're a CEO or whatever, women want to be able to come home and trust a man that they know they can be able to submit to a man because they trust him, because that's what kind of man he is, because he's earned that submission. And I think that a lot of people would thrive in relationships cultivated like that, but unfortunately, a lot of stubborn to evolve with women. Jesus Girl said, "My culture has a moon lodge for women experiencing their moon because we're very spiritually powerful." Oh, when menstruating, that is so neat. Is that Native American, Jesus Girl? Like I said, nobody wants to be around Aaron. Ain't nobody attracted to that. John Outland show to watch was the first one in a long time we could watch as husband and wife, where the sexual scenes were 50-50 fair, meaning as much as each sex. That's rare. Oh, that's interesting. As I've said before, like, okay, thank you, Blue Skies Vienna. She said 19 watching, hands up if you're not here. Jesus Girl, my dad stayed home a lot when we were kids. That's nice. I'm glad you got to spend that time with him, Jesus Girl. And it's neat because, like, my husband, like the activities he does with the 8-year-old, like, he takes him outside so much more and, like, like, I do really believe, like, we need both parents and like boys need their dads and broken homes are like a huge issue. I'm sure most people here would agree. Um, John said met Outlander. What did I read? Outlander show. Yeah, so we stopped watching a lot of stuff because and it was like really young. Like it was like teenagers having sex and one Netflix show. Like literally the opening scene of the show was like them. And then the rest of the season, not one sex scene. And like that was like it. I was like, I'm tired of these shows where like they try to rope you in, and they try to get and it's like that's part of it, and that's not to say, like, everybody has to do that, but I do think a huge part of the rift is adult media, and most men don't wanna talk about that because a lot of men do indulge in it too much. That's, like, a huge, huge, huge part of the objectification and, social media for women. Not that it doesn't affect some men, it's not, but the women that kind of get a little too egotistical, taking selfie after selfie, thriving off the attention from other men, I think that is also a problem, as well as the adult media for both sexes. But let's be real, adult media, the men, social media, the women, is, I think we avoid both, and that is something that, like, I don't, you know, I asked my husband if I can put that out there, and he said yes, he's comfortable with that. And I think that's one reason why we've still been married through all of this in this time, for 15 years. Native Americans equal moon lodge, Jesus Girl. That's what I thought. Cool. I think I've got a great 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 grandma that was Cherokee. Blue skies, 18 now. Aaron, run off. Now it's 16. Mr. Carey, I couldn't watch inappropriate scenes back in the day. My grandma didn't add HBO to a cable, so I was scrabbled. I remember when we stayed at my friend's house, we would watch HBO late at night. You know, the late at night HBO movies, they were like soft PORN. Like that was probably an introduction to things that I saw too young that I shouldn't have seen. And I do believe that, like, we need to keep that away from our kids. And it's like they design the internet. It's like so hard to get a phone that you can really keep your kid off the internet. It's like they want them to get on the internet, you know? Jesus Girl said, keep saying we need a modern day moon lodge. Yeah. Divinash. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that right. Do you respond to chats? Yeah, I'll respond to your chats. Jesus Girl, please, because my hormones make me need to get away from people. Yeah, I think I do a good job. I struggle with PCOS and like, imbalances and stuff, and I'll tell my husband that. I'm like, I'm in a bad mood, it's not a reason to use it as an excuse to be a bitch, but it's good to be aware of it and be like, I'm not feeling it today, like you shouldn't, maybe you should stay away. um, what's she reading? I'll read your chats. Mr. Carey said, yep. Okay. So I feel like I know I touched upon all my points in the script, but yeah, once again, like, feel free to disagree, but what I like the most about gardening and being self-sustainable, planting a farm, planting all the things that we have planned is, I do feel like it's like the great equalizer. At the end of the day, like we're all trying to survive. We all work very hard to survive. Whatever you do, most of us work hard. Whether you're working a job to pay your bills, whether you're working on a farm, off grid, it's all hard work, right? Unless you're a lazy bum. And those people tend to be like all willy-nilly floating around like a dandelion seed or something. But for most of us, life is constant hard work. So you might as well spend it with somebody that's like gonna help you with that. And not for everybody, but if you desire marriage, if you desire partnership, like so many people seem to do. And that's why this rift gets brought up between men and women, the gender wars. Like most often it's men complaining about women. And you see this over and over, Titus and his content, yes, when he talks about what the belief he focuses on women and controlling women. He does. That's misogyny. I said this in one video. They do everything but talk about how to be a better man, how to help your fellow men be better men. 50-year-old men should be being elders to the younger generations. They should be teaching them their wisdom, teaching them what they know. And I just don't respect the ones that are like tee-heeing, saying like they're a journalist or something and they're not. And journalists don't say, I know something you don't know. I can't tell you yet. I might tell you one day. I can't say what I know yet. That's not what journalists do. And we do need real journalists. EXT asked, it's Devyanish. Devyanish. EXT, do you like Andrew Tate? I can admit that Andrew Tate has said a few things that I agreed with. Overall, I do not like him. I think, yeah, he's part of the problem as far as rampant misogyny and kind of swinging the other way when we were very close to true egalitarianism in this country, I believe we were. And it's kind of regressive people and things like Andrew Tate. But I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'll admit, like he has said a few things I agreed with, but overall, no, I don't like him. If I had to say whether I like him or not, um, instead of harassing women, exactly. And I've said this before, and I know this could come off as misandrist or is it misogynistic? I don't care. Like it's true. I look down on men who go back and forth on the internet all day. My husband, in his 40 years of life, has not once gone back and forth on the internet with anybody, especially like a woman, especially in a female's space. And I don't want to come off as victim playing, like that's part of stoicism. Your life is on you. Your choices created your life. Nobody has like created your life for you. You are responsible solely for your life. You are born alone, you die alone, and you are responsible. The victim mentality helps nobody ever. It won't help anybody grow. And that's part of, stoicism, sharing your life with a man, a good man can teach you as a more emotional woman. From my perspective, what I've learned, I'm not saying everybody feels this way. Norma said 7-day Adventist is okay for the most part. It's Titus who distorts reality and gives them all a bad rap. Yes, I agree with you, Norma. I think there's extremes in every religion, every sect of Christianity. There's extremists. When I talk about the Korean, I know there's great Muslims. I know I've met them before, but the extremists are ruining it for all of them. And their whole book is filled with a lot of hate. I'm not afraid to say that. And then there's always some Muslim that comes along and is like, what version do you have? It's like, come on, give me a break. Every version of the Quran talks about offing unbelievers like every other page. Okay. And I can't jive with that. I'm not okay with that. I'm barely okay with saying that people who don't believe a certain thing are going to end up in eternal damnation. Did you watch the Netflix series Adolescence? No, I did not watch Adolescence. Jesus Girl Aaron is GAY, in my opinion. He acts like a 7th grade mean girl who became entirely irrelevant the day after high school graduation. Okay, Jesus Girl, I don't know if you caught it because I know I talk a lot and my last it was really long, but I try to explain this. I know where you're coming from. He has this, I don't adoration. You can tell he's a man's man. There's certain men that are never happier than when they're in a room full of other men. And like I was talking about the oppression of women, Muslims are a good example of this. Like Muslim men will get together and drink, eat, and be merry. They'll dance around like they're into each other romantically or something. Like you guys know what I'm talking about? Like they won't dance with their women and celebrate with their women like that, but they get with each other because they look down on women so much. That's what happens with like real bad, misogynistic, oppressive societies as theirs. When you literally look down on a woman so freaking bad, like she's not even allowed to like associate with you socially. And that's the kind of energy I get with some guys. Like my whole life, I've known these guys that are like, it's fine. It's completely fine to favor the presence of men. And I said, I'm not saying it's a sexual thing. I'm not saying anything about homosexuality. I'm not going there. I don't have to go there. As a woman who's been here for 40 years, I've seen this time and time again. Some men form the strongest bonds with other men. They could never do that with a female. That's misogyny. At the root of that is misogyny because they don't see us as humans. And I see it in kind of in Peter Santanello's content. Like, I know he's a married man, but like, he's like, you know, definitely not half the time speaking to women. He speaks to like more men than women, I think. And like Aaron is like, it's fine. And you want to like hang out with men, be happier with and like light up over Titus, and like form these super strong bonds. But I think it comes from a place of not having a dad. I can't help but think Aaron's dad wasn't in his life. And this is an effort to repair something from childhood. As I said, marriage is healing from childhood trauma. A psychologist said that. I forget who. I'm sorry. I forget who said it. It's a quote from some psychologist. And if you don't have a marriage to actively do that in, you might seek that out from other adults. And if you're truly misogynistic and you can't be partners with a female because of it, you might like obsess over some guy that you idolize. Can't keep can't quit going back to where he lives, even though there's literally nothing there but hills and horseflies. Yes, it's beautiful, of course, but there's no reason for anybody to spend that amount of time there unless like somebody is paying him to like okay, now I've changed my mind. I think he's gotten money from Titus before. I think Jeff is probably paying him. Like none of this makes any sense. And once again, it's just fun to talk about. I really don't care. um Sorry, Divyanash. I hope I said that right. John, you're from Greenland and Norway? Oh, that is so neat. I did not know that about you, John. Yeah, we are in the US. Me and Mr. Carey are like neighbors in Kentucky, Divyanash. Divyanash. Where do you live at? Oh, okay, John fooled me. He's in the USA. Not a cool Greenlander, Icelander, or Norwayander. Whatever. You said Greenway and Greenland and Norway. Um, Sorry, I hope that wasn't too loud in my microphone. John, I was like, what? I know you in the USA. John said, Carrie said that. John said, Aaron said he needed to go to Day Spa for a week and hang out with the Pink Toe crowd. Yeah, okay. Aaron is a guy that made a video about me, but I brought it on myself, Devianash, just so we know. I know that I'm the one who instigated this. Jesus girl, Aaron got jelly because Jeff was paying me. Jesus girl said, oh, really? Yeah, that's just like I couldn't imagine ever being like, it's so high school. This is my content. I'm the one that started making I know these people in real life. You shouldn't make content of fourth hand information. Um, Once again, Titus Morse has swam nude in front of children, had a child present while he attempted to cut off his foreskin, and he committed bestiality for a decade. No innocent being should be around him. Why does Titus Atz, or he wishes, or why does Aaron Atz seem to think that I wanna be like him, and I wanna, like, make my channel revolve around I have so much more to say and so much more content matter in my 72 videos on this channel that are public than Aaron Atz had in his, what, hundreds, maybe thousands of videos of catalog he had on that channel before it got taken down. I'm not ashamed. I know for a fact I have way more thought-provoking ideas, things that could actually teach somebody, actually motivate somebody, actually help somebody than Aaron Apps ever put out in like hundreds times more content. Like you know, that's my strong opinion. Um, Devyanash is from India. As you can see, my name is hard to pronounce, isn't it? My grandpa actually lived in India. I wish I could say where exactly, but I don't recall where. Jesus girl, and he thought Jeff only paid me $100. Laughing face, Freudian slip. Um, you're intelligent, Aaron's not. Yeah, and this is the struggle with, with being a woman and knowing that you're smarter than a man, but there's always going to be people that automatically assume, you're less logical, you're less smart, you're less intellectual. And not all men. There's definitely men that I feel like give me a fair crack at, like they don't judge me just looking at me, seeing me as a woman, especially when we're in shared spaces like at work. I really do like most of the men I work with, and I don't feel like they're misogynistic and they look down on me, but that also comes with doing the same work together. You know what I mean? And That's what I feel like happens in marriage and a lifetime with the right partner. Like, you work beside each other and you respect and appreciate each other's work because it's equally as important. Um, that might be why Aaron is threatened by smart women, Jesus Girl said. Yeah, Divinosh, Aaron is, Brown says Aaron is intelligent. I mean, he hasn't said anything besides, Titus is trying to unalive Jeff at one point in time, and Titus might have unalived Solomon Hirschberger. I'm not just he really hasn't said anything. And then when he did start talking about politics, which I agreed with most of what he said, like, we're our country is run by elites. They're trying to sow division. He still can't even, like, give his thoughts in a succinct enough manner for people to discern what he's talking about and what he's saying. And Jesus Girl said Aaron is a nobody is regarded with a T. It was so funny, Jesus Girl. And I know I feel kind of mean. I mean, he Brown said, I mean, Aaron is more intelligent. You're also intelligent. Well, you're allowed to think that, Brown. I'm sure, there's always going to be people that think that the man is more intelligent just because he's the man. Okay, Aaron, Jesus Christ. And this is misogyny because Aaron has not once brought up the true threats that happen when vulnerable innocent beings are brought around Titus. Or okay, on his new channel, I should say. As far as I'm aware, he has not made it a point to spread awareness to the things I'm trying to spread awareness to. And on top of that, he's being a little narcissistic. I know that gets thrown around a lot. I was trying not to say that word because a lot of people get turned off because it is thrown around a little too much nowadays, but it's true. You can't tell me that's not narcissism. Him sitting there smiling in his court outfit. He's so giddy and excited to testify on behalf of a child predator and horse molester. I don't get it. Like, what? And you think that's intelligent? He doesn't do anything for anybody but himself. He is selfish. He is skewed. The masculine energy is off. That's what I said when it's toxic masculinity. It's like there's no greater good. He is doing this purely for himself. He's not trying to help the vulnerable, innocent animals. He clearly has some kind of thing for Titus because he can't stay away from his property. And he says things to people like me, like, you have a lot to say for somebody who's never met Titus before. Why would he say that if he looked at Titus as the predator that I do? Can somebody, Brown, can you please answer me why Aaron thinks I need to meet Titus before I make content about his obvious past? And I've had multiple people thank me for it, acknowledge if it wasn't for my videos, they wouldn't have known about it, especially because of the saturation of content that Aaron can do sometimes. It's like almost like he's trying to saturate the search. So when people look up Titus, they find nothing of substance, nothing talking about the actual egregious acts that have caused him to lose a lot of people's trust. Um, Divinosh is trying to understand what's going on. I don't know if you really want to get into all the drama, but there's a person that's a false prophet who gained a lot of notoriety from a bigger YouTuber named Peter Santinello. You might want to start there. And it came out that he committed a lot of acts bestiality. I don't know if you know what that word is. Taking advantage of animals, particularly horses, and he's been inappropriate around children. Jesus Girl said personalities today, Aaron. Well, of course, Aaron is excited to testify on behalf of his fellow. Right. Yes, I agree. Is Chimo, horse, Mo, buddy, birds of a feather. Um, Tell him to go back and watch the videos. Yeah, if you're interested in it, there's a I tried to make a summary. There is like an 8-minute video, I think, on my page. It's like summary of Titus and Morris. That would be the quickest way to catch up, to start. And I do believe obviously, excuse me, they're trying to make money. Number one, Titus Morris and Stephanie. But they put out like content after content after content. It's like a tactic people use. So like if you've done some scandalous crap, a good way to, as an influencer, as an online content creator, a good way to like overcome that is to just like churn out the content, man. So they're hoping like, people will see like all this, and our memory is becoming a lot more short term as a society because of the nature of social media. And it's like people are not paying enough attention. People do pay attention. Oh, they tend to forget. Oh yeah, like I thought I heard something about him, but um, Jesus Girl said, "Hey Brown, Aaron is regarded. You're also regarded." Shout out to the T. The whole situation is so bizarre. LOL. And so somebody brought up like the 1,000 pound sisters in my last live. They're Amy and Tammy Slayton, these sisters that reside in Kentucky. I think they're like in Western Kentucky. And one of them wanted to have a wedding at Waverly Hills, an old sanatorium in the outskirts of Louisville, Kentucky. It's to be haunted, it probably is. So many people have perished there and suffered, to DEATH at that, and people of all ages. It's really sad. And I can, for the life of me, grasp why anybody would want to start their marital journey in a place like that. But they did have a show recently that showed she got a brain scan and like her functioning at like 14% when most people show up at like 80. And then like the producer, whatever, asked the doctor, they're like, so you're saying like her brain doesn't work as good as it could, and he's like, "Oh, yeah," like, dancing around it, and it's, like, all these examples of, like, why does every Kentuckian in the media have to be, like, somebody that people make fun of or poke fun at? And why can't we address, like, maybe what the root cause is of growing up in abject poverty? Like, it's maybe it's not all her fault. I mean, nobody said it was all her fault, but the way that people it's just not it wasn't cool to me, and it was, like, another example of, like, people poke Kentuckians, and I think part of the reason why she is functioning on that kind of level, like she's like low functioning individual, but yeah, at that level, you might want to go get married in a ex sanatorium. It's really odd. Um, but I follow them. I think, I mean, it was weird how she got, you follow him too, Jesus Girl, obviously. She got bit by that camel and then they got caught with marijuana. In Tennessee, thinking her medical card from Kentucky was gonna be okay to bring marijuana to Tennessee. That was so silly. Tammy got her skin removal surgery. Waverly Hills, yes, that would be creepy party, but not a wedding. Right, she wants to get married there. An event, not a party, right. Which sister has 14% function? Tammy is the one who just lost all the weight, right? Amy. Amy is the one who just got engaged, and her engagement ring is like 2 skeleton hands holding each other, I think. And, yeah, Amy. Yeah, I would skip that wedding invitation, Mr. Carey said. And, yeah, there's so many beautiful aspects to Kentucky, and when you meet most people, as I mentioned, I've lived in, like, Southern California, all over Florida, Indiana, I've been to a lot of cities and places, and I, really do think that we have some of the friendliest people. Like, there's just the nicest, friendliest, most community-minded people I've been around here. Got giraffe bitten. Oh, that's oh, yes, that's what it was. Thanks for reminding me. Divinash said, Divinash. In Indian lives like this, they don't even talk about local issues like you're talking. Yeah, I know. You guys can be a lot. I've heard really good things. Like, yeah, I know you can be a lot more respectable and everything, but there's also Indians that sell their daughters into prostitution, right? So, like, no offense to you. I'm just saying, like, um, you know, there's good and bad people everywhere. But YouTube is a good place to talk, to gossip. You could call this gossip. That's why I try to start it off with something that might actually help people widen their horizons at least. See my perspective, even if you're not going to agree. You don't have to agree to understand. And I think it's interesting that like NASA has cameras and see our energy fields. Like, we are walking batteries. We really are. And no, I've never seen Aaron hardly ever say anything substantive. I really, truly haven't, and I'm not saying that as a dig, I'm saying that as a matter of fact. And for anybody to say he's more intelligent than me, it's just like, um, that's everybody's allowed to have their own opinion, but you're probably misogynistic yourself. Tammy seems like she's playing with more cards in her deck, Jesus Girl said. Yeah, especially lately, right? John said, my family adore. What is that, John? Am I being I don't know what ROTI means. Am I being slow right now? I feel like I'm being too slow. So, yeah, you can say I'm being gossipy. I feel like what Aaron Atz does is gossip, saying complete hearsay. Um, and yeah, I mean, I guess he does. Does he say it's hearsay? Just like saying the same story over and over, trying to spread the same rumors over and over. I bring up the facts, the history of Titus Morse, because it is important to me to warn other people of his history. I'm not trying to like make a show out of it and make it some entertaining spectacle like Aaron Atz is. I don't want to do that. I don't think I need to go meet Titus to prove my points that he has been inappropriate with children way too many times. too many, however too many times that we know about for a fact. Like, don't let's not assume that that's it. And horses, in a recent video, like one put out in the last 24 hours, Titus titled it something about, sins, and he's got his horse and he's in there smiling. It's such a joke. He's a demon. Titus Morris, you're an evil demon. I don't care how bad how much you repented, how sorry you feel. You sitting there with that horse like that, without not one time have you ever said something that really was like, my heart changed. I saw how horrible it was for me to defile one of God's creatures. And like, even in his video where he's always talking about like overcoming the sin and paying the consequences for it, he's not coming from a truly changed place, in my opinion. He's not. He hasn't truly changed. He's an exhibitionist. He still wants to use the horses for whatever, like an object, just like men do that are misogynistic with women. He wants to use them. He thinks this is cute and funny. A real man that was really repented, is that a word? That had truly repented would be too ashamed to do what he did, to be on that thumbnail like that. A real man that really felt the remorse that should come with taking advantage of animals for a decade of their life would probably choose not to show off that they still have those animals. I think a real man would choose, like, not to have animals. I think the most that you could repent would be to say, "For the rest of my life, I'm gonna make sure it's not even a possibility," because that's why we have things like jails and prisons, things like sex offender registries. That's why those things exist, because people know it's really super hard to rehabilitate somebody that's that sick on that level, and we all deserve to know, and we all need to protect our kids. It's been proven time and time again. We protect them when we keep them away from people like that. And yeah, the number one predator of any child is a non-biological father in their home. So, like, this is serious. I'm glad that the kids have somebody looking out for them. You could call it God, you could say it's the judge. I think it's both. Stevie Nash said, "John, we eat French fries too, but it is French or American, I don't know." French fries are Belgian, John said. Andrew Tate, all women want me, all men want to be me. I am God. Oh, thanks for the comedic relief, Andrew. But yeah, there's always going to be, and like that's how I look at, like when I said earlier, diversity is what we need. We all thrive off of diversity. And we need everybody, right? We need the hateful people. We do. That's horrible to say, but it's true. We can't all be good. We need the balance. So we wouldn't see how great the great people were if there weren't some horrible people. We wouldn't know what a great day was if we didn't have pain sometimes. John laughing at Andrew Tate. And do I know Jeffrey Epstein? Well, I didn't know him personally, but I know of him. I know who you're talking about for sure. And did you guys know that like Edgar Hoover was like, in my opinion, this is like I don't know, hot take. Edgar Hoover was the original Epstein. Like Hoover had a room full of filing cabinets with dirt on like all the people you could think of, famous people, politicians. And there's always been this elite circle of people, and they've always done what they could to like blackmail each other. It's really sick because the average person that just works hard to survive, like most of us, can't really understand to be at that level. But when you have literally nothing else to do because like you're set for life and you have all the money, then you want power, and then you start seeking power in your inner circles and everywhere. But what's up, Andrew Tate? Top G Brown said. Jesus Girl said, Lydia Divinash is trolling. Stop giving your energy to that, please. Oh, well, I don't think he's saying too much. What is ROTI, John? It's a food. What is it, though? Divinash asked, how am I trolling? Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Any questions about misogyny? Does everybody that matters understand now where I'm coming from when I say misogyny is the root of all evil? Women give life, and what's funniest to me is now, this is a generalization, but it's true. Most men who say misogyny isn't a real thing, they're like the most misogynistic ones, and they're the ones that will talk out of both ends of their mouth and talk about like boss babes, like a woman can't win with them. A woman's a boss babe if she, like, goes to college, has her own career, but if a woman stays at home, she's a gold digger, and she'd be nothing without her husband, and it's like, you simply can't win with men like that because they hate women. Why? They're jealous. They're jealous of our life-giving abilities because they are not fulfilled at all with their lives, and they're jealous of how easy it is for us to get sex, and because they're so over sex, they think if they were in our bodies, they would just, like, lay down and spread their legs open, but that's not how it is as a woman when you're the gatekeeper of life and you are risking pregnancy unless you got your uterus removed, but most of us, we are the gatekeepers of life and pleasure, and a lot of feminists wouldn't talk like that, but I believe that's one of the reasons why this misogyny is so bad and so harmful. We are not honoring women, we are not honoring homemakers. I have a lot to say about that, as I was one for years. You can't win as a woman, and it's other women that do it too. Once again, it's not just men hating women. Women do it to each other. You can't win with other women, whether you stay at home, whether you go to work. There's always gonna be people that have something to say about it. Whatever you do as a man, you can do people judge you if you have kids by the time you're 30 as a man? Or people like, if you don't have kids, where are the kids? Where are the babies? When are you gonna start having babies? Because I saw that with my sister, you know? You do things right, you have your career and your college years first. As soon as you turn where's the babies? People don't do that with men. People don't have the same expectations, and I understand there are some expectations for men to contend with that can be difficult sometimes. But with women, it's like literally anything we do, we can't win. Literally. With, like, half the population or more. Indian flatbread. Thank you, Jesus girl, for finally telling me. Oh, that sounds yummy. I love bread. I love pita bread. And I don't buy it unless it's, like, in the clearance section, but I love it when it's on clearance and can yeah. And I make a lot of lentils, Devianache. I like cumin, um, and a curry. I hope I'm not being too stereotypy. Jesus girl said, "Sorry, I was making coffee when you mentioned, I'm just rowdy the first time." Exactly, risking a whole lot more than pregnancy for that matter. Right. Exactly. We get STIs, STDs much more because of the nature of our anatomy and the soul connection. I think people need to be honest. Like we were taught in the 90s, like, oh, just do what feels good, just wear a condom, and that's not safe. You still get skin to skin contact with condoms. And even so, like, I do believe, like, each person you sleep with, you are giving yourself a piece of yourself to that person. And people, it's satanic, the sexual liberation, the way people have taught people in the last several decades to be in that way. Um, Missy, sad but true. Hey, Missy, how are you doing? You were the one that was having pain and you had that ointment, right, Missy? Is your arthritis feeling better? Jesus girl, well, in the physical risk, men are stronger biologically, that too. Right. Yes. Men are just like, yeah. And, we are risking our lives with every day. That's what I said earlier, like, okay, so, say women that hate men, that's awful, like, I don't look kindly upon women that look at a man and hate a man just because he's a man. That's not right, that's not fair. But what do? They talk, When a man hates a woman, he goes and he MURDRs sometimes multiple people, sometimes multiple children, This is what we need to talk about. That is harmful to all of society. I'm not pointing the finger at every single man and saying, like, "You're the problem. You're a man." Um, it's just men, and not everyone deserves access to me, even as friends. Few deserve intimate access. Jesus girl said, "Yes, that is how more. If more women thought that, we'd all be better off, right? Right? And like, I brought it up. It's like I don't know. Yeah, I do think like women need to quit being such big Jezebels. There was a recent story where this like Liz the Wizard, this big influencer. I never even heard of her. She has like 8 million subscribers, but I never heard of her until this. Her husband cheated on her. She's all about women empowerment. And like one thing people hardly talk about is like, well, what about the fact that he thought he could just like bounce on Snapchat and find a girl to cheat with because so many women are so full of the Jezebel spirit when they see a man like him with a nice, well put together woman like Liz. Oh, he's married to her. Oh, he got her pregnant. Some women see that as like a target and they get off on getting attention from a man who's already got a life built with a beautiful woman because they're jealous of that woman. I myself can't relate. I've never felt like that. I've always been way too much of a girl's girl. I've never ever like gone after a man that I knew was taken like that. And like that is horrible. Man, nobody's talking about that, like, why did he feel entitled to hop on an app and think that it would even be possible? Because there's so many slutty women there, said it. Um, Divinash, we in India celebrate the festival 9 days called Navratri. Each day we worship 9 different goddesses. I personally and all Hindus also touch feet of their mothers and sisters before going. Oh, that's nice. So in Hindu, you can choose to celebrate whatever deities you want to, right? Deities, like you can choose to worship one god in Hindu, right? My grandpa converted to Hinduism, and when he passed away, people were chanting, I believe from the Bhagavad Gita. Missy Bird said, "Yes, I know it's horrible today, but thank you for asking." Well, oh gosh, Missy, I hope it gets better. I know my sinuses and my joints hurt worse in rain. Anytime, the rain comes and goes. Jesus Girls Tames, Missy Bird, me either. I would never do that to another woman. It's sickening. Right. And if more women just like, because it isn't hard for us to get male attention, and if less women would opt to do that, we'd all be better off, right? Not that the man shouldn't be the one to keep it in his pants. Like, of course he should. But it's just like it's sad what we've become. And like we were talking earlier, we do take a lot of risks as women. Jesus girl, a married man tried to hit on me. It didn't go well for him. Good. Good. Missy Bird, we have to stand up together. Yes. Jesus girl. Titus has been trying to chat me up since he wed Stephanie. Not finna happen. Yeah. Somebody said that he has a child who was with their like an adult woman at the library in Liberty, and that Titus winked at her. Like, I'm sorry, like, I don't want my husband winking at nobody else, like, winking. He's such a dope. Divyanash, there are 330 million gods in our religion. Oh, I had no idea. Jeez Louise. Wow. But am I right? Because I was actually just, I was reading through some interesting forums talking about religion and what would be the least misogynistic religion. And we've actually had a few people ask if we were Buddhists. Two different times, two different maintenance men came into our apartments to fix something. This has been years and years. And they asked if we were Buddhists. And I always thought that was kind of interesting. But, we're not. Like I keep saying, my grandpa lived in India, my grandpa lived in China. I had a few trinkets of his, but it wasn't like our whole apartment was like Asian looking. So I don't know. Um, who would want him? Missy Bird said. He that's the thing with, what I was just talking about. There is something to, like, the online I'm sure most women wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole, but, like, the online notoriety and then just, like, him having another woman, that does something for men. Like, once they get a wife themselves, then, like, there's always, like, some other bitches that come out of the woodwork that all of a sudden would have never paid attention to him otherwise. It happened with my high school sweetheart. I was with somebody for 2 years in high school. That's like, like a decade, and when you're 15, 16 years old, and, I was his first girlfriend. People couldn't stay away from him once he started to date me, and, like, not to sound conceited, but, like, we've all seen that situation happen, right? Because I was, the kinda girl that I just always I don't know. I was just attracted to people more for their personality than their looks. I'm not trying to be mean, but it's the truth. He cheated on me, broke my heart, but he ended up marrying the woman he cheated on me with, and they're still together. They both have red hair, and they have 3 redheaded babies, and I'm sure they're bigger kids now. It's been years and years since I saw them, and they're the sweetest family. So, you just never know, like, everything happens the way that's supposed to, I believe, and, but yeah, there's a phenomenon that takes place, and like somebody said it earlier, like Stephanie, or in a comment, Stephanie was like barking off every woman that approached Titus in real life, such as that woman Catherine that actually spent time there, had a son Lazarus. They still have videos up with this little boy in it. And she was technically his fiance, I believe, at one point. And Titus said if she was told she was leaving, things might have turned out differently because Stephanie nor his mom, who both knew she was leaving, told Titus she was leaving. And she told them to tell Titus, hey, I'm leaving, let him know. I don't know why she couldn't go up to herself and do it, but it sounds like to me, kind of the same phenomenon taking place. Like Stephanie, from my opinion, wanted Titus the moment she saw him because who writes to a YouTuber and says, hey, can I come move in with you? Unless there's not some lust going on. I'm sorry. It's like, it's true. It's true. Once again, it was a 30-year-old woman. She wouldn't have been, or whatever. How old are you? Oh my gosh. Back then he was like 23 and she was like 30. Ew. Ew. Okay, it just got worse. If it could get worse, it just did. Because I just realized that. Because 'cause I'm sorry, a 30-year-old woman who's already settled down with 2 children, right, and 23-year-old men, and then swooping in on their lives and deciding, "Okay, now that you've got the money, allegedly, supposedly, now that you've got the fame and the notoriety and the money and a little bit higher place in society, and you got that status, I'm gonna make sure I got some of that. I'm gonna make sure we get some of that money, put it in my mom's name. I know, we're gonna buy a piece of land and put it in my mom's name." So now it's like never even considered marital anything if we ever get divorced. And Kentucky isn't a community property state, meaning like it's not always 50-50 anyway. But yeah, you can't tell me that's like some manipulative stuff right there. That's smart on their end. Got to hand it to them. It's like it's almost like somebody who's done it before or something. I'm not saying they have. It's just like wow. And a lot of women want what they can't have, government username. A lot of people want what they can't have, but the difference is women are showing that they do go and get what they want more so than men. And that is, I'm not saying men are weaker, lazier, worse, but I'm saying right now, this epidemic of male loneliness, um, we need to help men evolve and become better men and advance with women. So like they don't have to get married at the same, but I do believe that now more than ever, when it's such a difficult economy, we should be encouraging marriage. We should be, you know, getting married more. And that makes me sad. And then I know how horrible so many men and women are alike. Like, I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, the greatest choice I ever made was getting married because it is hard, guys. It's not easy all the time. You'll say the worst things you've ever said to somebody, to your spouse. Maybe. I don't think all people are like that, but we got together when we were 19, 21 years old. And um, you really get tempered as an individual if you are married and you stay married for a long time. And your goal is to serve and respect each other in the long run. Like, it will temper you and make you better. And that's what I think the whole point of it is. Catherine was not his fiance. Titus asked Catherine to marry her. Catherine said no. Okay, thank you for saying that, Jesus girl. So Catherine was not his fiance. I saw that in comments or something. So sorry for saying the wrong thing. Once again, to Catherine was not his fiance. And she said no when Titus asked. Stephanie's mother tried to do that kind of stuff with the security guards at the loony bin in Kansas. Connie was rebuffed harshly, very harshly. Jesus girl. Yeah, that's women with personality disorders, specifically, I believe psychopathy and sociopathy, use sex as a weapon. That's like very sociopathy coded, psychopathy coded. Look it up. They use sex as a total tool in their tool belt to manipulate people around them. They use their vaginas as a weapon, basically. Norma Meek, the big question is as a tool. There's proof of misusing funds, harming animals, not caring for 3 defenseless children with no charges against him. The harm is continuing with no consequences. Why? Why? Yes, Norma, I agree. I'm going to read Norma's comment again because I think it's so important. The big question is there's proof of misusing funds, harming animals, not caring for 3 defenseless children with no charges against him. The harm is continuing with no consequences. Why? Why? That's pretty much summed up the sentiment of me. I believe I can speak for some other people in this chat. That is why we are here. I don't care to go meet Titus, Aaron. I don't want to be a part of Titus and his cult. I don't want to talk to him. I'm not charmed by him. I live a few counties over, and then we've got rolling, beautiful green hills that look like what people say heaven looks like in near-death experiences. Okay, like I get it. This is God's country, and you can't help but be inspired when you're here. It's great. Um, Sell your house and buy a piece of land here like we did. Get the fuck over it. Norma, maybe the feds and government usernames are true. Norma, maybe the feds and state are trying to decide which jurisdiction to prosecute them. I hope so, Jesus girl. I hope it's something like that. No direct knowledge, but I sure hope that's a damn case. Yeah, Titus proposed to Catherine like 4 days after she arrived. Dang, she must have been a beauty, right? Because only somebody was worth looking at. Titus 2, Jesus girl. Here I don't know a world divination. Don't know a word. Jesus girl, to my knowledge, Titus never proposed to Stephanie. Nobody who is emotionally healthy wants to be around Titus or Aaron. It takes money to buy land or a house. Right. Yeah, I know. And so it's like nobody, and I said this in my property tax video, nobody's going to shame me for buying a double wide. They're not the depreciating assets they once were. They can be if you put too much money if you overpay for one, like anything. But there's such a lack of housing now in our country. There's so many beautiful, beautiful properties with double wides on single wides. And Aaron, if he planned his life better and played his cards better, might be in one right now. Sorry, I can't help myself. Aaron got either ain't got either, to my knowledge. Yeah, Jesus girl, somebody said he owned that house in Alabama. I have no idea. None. That's why I was like, I don't know. It seems like he doesn't have anywhere to go to me. John, she's pretty and nice too, and her son. Okay, so you did see her, or I don't know if you saw her in a video or in real life. Good for her for escaping. Yes, I hope that she escaped, and Lazarus, her son, escaped unscathed. I hope nobody touched him. Nobody took photographs of him. You know, all these creepy things child predators do. You guys, there's been several times we've been at a park and there's like a man by himself there. I get my kids and I go. And when I'm safely distanced from this person, I let them know I'm leaving because you're a creep for being at a park with kids. And there's been men that are sitting there with cameras. It's happened a few times. And like I said, I get them in their car seats, get them buckled up right before I take off. I'm like, you're a fucking creep. I let them know I am a mama bear. I am tired of creepy, perverted men. It's ruining all of us. Like this oversexed society, it shows in Titus Morse, right? We're all charmed by this guy, lived off grid, lived like the Amish. Oh my gosh, like he's in touch with God in a way that like a monk in a forest that spends all his time meditating, like how charming. No, he's like oversexed just like the rest of them. And that's why so many women are gravid because we're tired of it. We're tired of men who can't control their lust thinking they're better than us. And like I don't mean that towards every single man watching this. And once again, I have to say it like women are part of the problem and women are becoming oversexed too. And I've said this about mothers, it almost grosses me out even more when a woman does it. Like because I hold women to higher standards because we all do basically most of us do. Yeah, I mean I know that's like something that's not good necessarily for me, but it's just I can't help the way my brain works in that regards. Um, Jesus girl said, does Stephanie have a young son that Titus wants access to? Young daughters? Question mark. Mm-hmm. Stephen, I asked the same question to all live streamers. What do you advise a student who just finished his school? Oh, well, I keep bringing up this book. Have you read this, Stevie The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho? You might want to read that. I just like I gave that to my nephews and they turned 18 and stuff like that. Like you need to find your destiny, your passion to fulfill it. You need to find what you want to do with the rest of your life and like take your time doing that if you need to for you. Of course, I don't know your financial situation, but hopefully you can take the time to do that if you don't know that already. And good luck. I'm have a 15 and an 18-year-old, so you know the college discussion, what you're going to do in your 20s and for the rest of your life discussion is a constant in our home. Jesus girl, amen. I do the same thing in securing the kids as I call 911. Bet a guy was self-servicing outside the local pool. Ew, parked by a fence. I called the cops on him. He knocked himself. Oh, good. Missy Bird, me too, Lydia. Jesus girl, in my opinion, Titus proposed to Catherine because Titus wanted access to her son. Oh my gosh. I mean, you know? Yeah, I know. This is what, like, predators do. The name again is The Alchemist. I think does it show up right on your like, I know on the playback it won't be backwards, like, right now it's mirrored and it's, like, backwards. The Alchemist. A-L-C-H-E-E I'm so dumb. Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It's such a good book. It talks about, like, free will and destiny, and, I think the boy that they're talking about in it is Muslim, but it really doesn't matter what your religion is. It definitely it's not a religious book, but he's in the Middle East doing this, like, several hundred-mile-long journey. He meets a girl he can't stop thinking about. She's the one, yada, yada. It's a very good book. Government username agrees. It's a good book. Um the Alchemist, Missy Bird just wrote it out for me. Thank you. Coelho. I think if you look at The Alchemist, it'll probably, it's a super popular, famous book. And it was actually a Muslim I worked with in Fort Lauderdale at a resort. I've got low battery now. She gave me that book. And so when I talk about Muslims and the Muslim faith, I think about her, Adi, one of the sweetest souls I've ever known. And she's one of those people that I feel like was like trying to be a mentor to, you know, she's like twice my age trying to help me out and guide me in life, and, it's really special to me. That's actually the exact book that he gave me at our desk at our time resort, and, gosh, I feel like I've said all there is to say. It's over 2 hours at this point. Wow. I told my husband, I was like, "I think that might be the longest live ever." I could see myself going for 3 hours about this. And I didn't touch upon the adult media as much as I wanted to. I just feel like that's a weird topic. It's hard to talk about. The same thing we talk about, like, energy. Like, I'm not saying I don't want to turn you on, but it's like it's weird for me to talk about, It's but it's important, and it's something that needs reiteration. Like, we learn this we have, like in elementary school, you, like, have a year where you learn a lot of new subjects, the next year is a repeat. The next year, you learn a lot of subjects, and then the following year is a repeat. That's kind of the basis of education, and we need the same thing in our everyday lives. Like, you can't just sit down and have the birds and the bees talking, like, how you need to treat your body like a temple with your kid just once. You need to have that talk with them over and over again as their brain is going through all these different stages developmentally, and like so much growth has taken place. You have to be like, and I didn't have that growing up. My parents did a decent job in a lot of ways, in a lot of ways they didn't. And I feel like it's the same thing that a lot of kids that grew up in the 90s, early 2000s went through. And it wasn't like necessarily their fault. Typical boomer stuff. They're just like so focused on themselves and their lives, and, don't understand why, you know, just seem to be a little out of touch. It was nice talking to you, Divinash, and, I hope you have a great week. Brown, do you like more to read books or watch documentaries? Lately, documentaries, because my attention span is bad, and I'm trying to, like, read more because it scares me how hard it is for me to read, to be honest. It used to be books, but over the last, like, 10 years, I think it's the screen time, And then I listen to audiobooks and documentaries while I'm at work because I can use my earbud at work, and, I think that's why I'm having so many middle ear problems. I, like, always have an earbud, like, 50, 60 hours a week, and that can't be healthy, but it is helpful to keep my mind busy while I'm working with my hands, because I work in a factory. So anyways, my sinuses are getting crazy. I should probably get off of here. You must be my youngest daughter's age. She was born in 1992. Yes, Missy. I was born in 1987. I am 38 years old. I just turned 38 in March. I'm an Aries. I'm not that into all of that, but it is funny to me. Like, it can be accurate whenever I do look into like horoscopes and whatever, but I'm not that into it. But I definitely, isn't Aries a fire sign? I think I am kind of like typical Aries. And whatever sign my husband is, like what it says about both of us is like, oh, it's really fiery and passionate. And like it either fizzles out right away or it lasts a lifetime. Mr. Carey said, I was born in 76. Oh, that's cool. So you're 49? Am I right? Depending on when your birthday is. My oldest daughter was born in 85 April, and she's an Aries. Cool. Textbook Aries, and yes, a fire sign. Jesus, girl. Yeah, I'm not ashamed to admit it. That's one of those things when I read about it, like, in my 20s, but, now I can own it. Now I've tamed myself a little bit more. And, Jesus' girl bestie is an Aries. Well, she must be a cool chick. Um, Gosh, I do this more the longer I'm on lives. I'm like, "Oh, I wanted to say something else," and then I lost my train of thought. I should probably get off of here. I think I've made my points clear. Misogyny is seeping in so many cultures. If you don't see it throughout the world, then you're very ignorant of, like, what's going on in the outside of the world, and if you think women here are safe and then we have all the same equal rights, I can see your point to a certain extent. I do believe that now we do have mostly equal rights, like legally, but I still think there's a lot of room for improvement, and that's like the whole mentality needs to change. We need to get to the point where the number one cause of DEATH in pregnant women is not the hands that got that woman pregnant. And then and only then will we be able to like really see the kind of society we all deserve, where there's more empathy, justice. You hear these red pill men say a lot. They want a woman to be their peace, peace, peace. We will never know true peace until like true egalitarianism takes place. And for those of you that might not know what that means, that's like just equal rights between men and women, what feminism started as, and what like people could arguably say, like in the US, we do have. Like I just said, like I don't think I don't want to play victims as a woman in the US. I see my fellow sisters all over the world that don't have the same rights, that are so much more oppressed, that are getting married off as children, that can't get educated, can't drive cars, can't go to school. And like I said, I don't want that seeping into here, and it's possible, it's quite possible, it's happened in, fairly recent times, in Mr. Kerry's lifetime, in Missy's lifetime, it sounds like, like I said, in, like, Iran or whatever, Iraq, I forget what country, but it's like, you look at pictures of the '70s, like, Saddam Hussein's family was, like, wearing bell bottoms, women, females, and the extremism took over, and that's what can happen here, and yeah, I think it ties into Titus and his cult. I think that's what, misogynistic people like Aaron Atz are hanging on to when they can't let go of, like, that culture, and why I say to people, like, if you want cheap land, you wanna live remotely, you want people to stay out of your hair, Casey County might be a good place for you, but there's really not much going on. Beautiful, beautiful place, but Aaron being there thinking that he's some kind of PI, is absolutely. Oh, Missy Bird said, "Have a blessed night, and please pray I can get some rest." Who is going? You'll be 50 on Martin Luther's personal birth month and day. Oh, cool, Mr. Carey. If you are going now, Missy, bye. I hope you have a good week. Yeah, I need to get going, you guys. But I don't think that misogyny is like Aaron's fault. I think he's a victim of this society. I think any 50-year-old man whose pursuance of dreams involves walking alongside the road of other people's properties is indicative of the downfall of our society, the moral decay that is pervasive, ever pervasive. And most content you watch, even when you think you're watching a charming Amish man that has a pure of heart close to God, pure heart close to God, you never know what he's doing when he turns off those cameras, right? Aaron is a volunteer, not a victim, Jesus Girl said. Absolutely. Well, Jesus Girl and Mr. Carey, I hope you guys have a great week. And thank you for hanging out with me for so long. I really do appreciate you guys. And I know this sounds really like might be too much, but I love you guys. I appreciate all your views. I appreciate all the likes. I appreciate everybody who is willing to stand up with me. So maybe less vulnerable people are affected, less innocence is taken away because it affects us all. Like I just said, the moral decay that starts with taking innocence away. And like, got so much more to say, but we'll leave it at this. Bye, guys. See you later.